All right, man. Can you hear yourself?
Yeah, I can hear it, man. What's
Fantastic.
up? How's it going?
Great, dude. Thanks for coming out. Will Walker.
I appreciate it, man. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah. So, man, I guess I've known. How old are you, first of all?
31.
So I'm 33. So I feel like I've known about you like the whole time I've been training martial arts in Arkansas,
yeah,
right?
For sure. Yeah, I've always heard about Force over here.
Yeah. And well, you know, I think that I can't even remember when we first met. I was trying to think about this.
I think the first time that I really remember like actually sitting down and talking to you was at an AGF, I'm pretty sure, and maybe Tulsa.
Okay. Yeah.
I think so. I think that was the first time we really like sat down and actually talked, but yeah.
I've been to around Fort Smith a few MMA cards where you fought on when you were still an amateur.
Yeah. That was way back. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Which would have been like, and I'd met Rodney Hitchcock at this like Caleb, who owns Inferno. He had this thing, a winter camp, right?
Yeah.
And Rodney came and hung out at the winter camp.
Oh yeah.
It was on a magazine.
Oh yeah.
Right. But that was when I first met Rodney, and I was like, dude, I've been hearing all about this Jeet Kune Do. I got all these I got Bruce Lee books over here, right, you know. Yeah. And but I've always just had admiration, a lot of respect for him over the years when I've been around him. And at that time that I'm talking, this would have been like 2011, I want to say.
So I've been about 2 years, probably about 2 years with him then at that point.
Yeah, but I felt like he was putting out some incredible stuff. That was back when it was Ronin, right?
Yeah, that's Team Ronin. That was back in the day, man. We had a ton of fighters. I think at one point in time, around that, like 2011, 2012, we had a group of guys that were like 84-8, like total combined together. We had a ridiculous record for our group. I was
inspired by that.
Yeah, we had a great group of guys, man. It was just one of those, everything kind of come together at the right time. We literally had like 10 guys that all started like fighting and training on the same weekend. Like literally, I fought on a Friday night. We had like 8 or 9 guys fight the next day on Saturday, and it was all of our first fights at the same time.
Wow.
And it just became this cycle of like one-upping, like every day in training. Well, Matt got me yesterday, or Garrett got me the day before. So it just became this deal where we were just so competitive and so pushing each other that we just built this crazy amateur team that had this great record, all these belts.
Garrett, pink mohawk guy, right?
Yep. Garrett Cox.
Yes. I see. That's one of those cards that I was talking about.
Yep.
I remember on that particular card, there was an older guy that fought. He was probably like 40 or something. He fought and he threw like a lead leg side kick a lot. And I was like,
Bobby Sykes.
I was like, bro, I love that lead leg side kick.
Yeah. We had some good. It was crazy, like the variety of people we had, like ages, weights, styles of life. Like it was just like this crazy ragtag group of people that you just stuck in a gym together, and we just enjoyed beating the shit out of each other. Really, that's all it was. That was kind of all we had going for us.
Yeah. So like, okay. So tell me the story. So like, I don't know really. I haven't kept up with who's with who or anything since. Is Rodney retired? Like, what is he doing these days? I haven't talked to him in a long time.
He's still, up until the whole coronavirus thing happened, he was traveling, man. He's doing international stuff, Philippines.
Well, okay, I did keep up with was Triad Jeet Kune Do. Was he a part of that? Yep. And he was doing, he's doing seminars.
Yep, we do seminar. We have for Triad, we have a March, September schedule. We do like one here, one in Jackson every year. Mm-hmm. And then he was going to the Philippines and a lot of these different like other countries and teaching for like 3, 4, 5 days at a time. But his gym shut down. He shut his gym down in, I want to say 2011, 2012, somewhere in there is when his gym shut down. He took a job working for the county, so he kind of got to the point where he really just didn't have time to do it anymore.
Probation officer or something like
He's
that.
a juvenile officer, And at that point, a lot of those guys that I'm talking about had kind of phased out. They had gotten jobs, gotten married, had kids, whatever. Had just, life had caught up, and they had all kind of moved on. Really, for a little while, I was the only real like original Ronin member left that was still training and still fighting for a while. So
your dad is a martial artist too, right?
Yeah, that's how I started fighting, was my dad. My dad started fighting in the 90s, way back when it was NHB, no rules, all tournaments, open mat stuff. It was wild, man. Wild West days.
Okay, there's this old video of Andy Threlkeld fighting this guy at this like event, like what you're talking about, early 90s. And he's actually fighting a guy that trained with us at the Clarksville Inferno. I started training there in 06, and I think it shut down in 09, 08 or 09, right? But there's this video, and their rounds are so long.
Yeah,
I mean,
insane.
They fight forever.
Yeah. Well, I remember my dad talking about how they would have fights. Like, he was fighting every weekend, and every weekend the rules would be different. Some places it's open palm. Some days you're using a fist. Some days you can knee to the head. Sometimes you can't. Like, it was wild.
I'm sure you have. Have you seen that documentary Choke about Hickson fighting in that tournament and stuff? The rules meeting is so fascinating to me
every time.
Like, it's like the first they're like, these gloves are pillows, man, but they're like, well, if I knock you down, I should get a 10 count. And you're like, but what about grappling? Like, it's like, I can't believe that's a conversation in 1994, 95, whatever it is.
Making it up as they go, man. They're just figuring it out.
Dad, which that would have been like your dad's age, right?
I think his last fight was like 99 or 2000. So that 96, 97 area,
and did he fight just regionally, train regionally?
He lived in Oklahoma, and he fought, he fought anywhere. He drove all the way to Minneapolis and fought Dave Vinay, former UFC middleweight champ.
Wow.
Drove all the way to Dave. He fought on the same card as Sean Shirk. The night Sean Shirk made his pro debut.
Okay, so
he fought Salt Lake City. So back then, the big thing was the invitationals, the Boss Root Invitational, Salt Lake City.
Yeah.
So he fought in that 2 or 3 times, drove all the way to Salt Lake City to fight in that.
Did you go to that Sean Shirk seminar at Bentonville?
Yeah, I did.
I was there. We were there. Yeah. Dude, I was just showing some of his shit the other day. That was such a great seminar.
Yeah, dude, he's so much good stuff.
I'll tell you who's got good stuff. Greg Nelson.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my gosh, right? And I remember being... I can't remember if it was McFan or Rodney, but I remember being there, and like I have like this, like I've been showing Greg Nelson this little clinch video. I'm like, I have his whole series now, and I was like, guys, when I was broke as fuck in college, I couldn't even afford a TV like this or nothing. Like, here we are watching this stuff in the gym. I own this if you want it. Like, playing it. But I remember, is it McFan or Rodney or both were standing there, and they said to Sean, like, how's Greg? And I was just like, they're talking about Greg Nelson.
Yeah.
But man, as a coach, and like his story with surviving cancer twice, holy shit.
That's wild, man. That whole seminar was awesome for me, just to be there and be like, there was so many good guys there. I mean, I was at Caleb's, right? That was the one at Caleb's.
Yes.
There's so many good guys there. So many just so much knowledge. It was so awesome. It was a cool thing.
So you guys are just have been plugged in with like that part of the martial arts world through like Inosanto and his proliferation, right? I mean, at least loosely.
And Ted Wong and all those guys. Yeah, that was Rodney was really a Ted Wong guy. He was a big time Ted Wong guy. That was our thing.
I've got a Ted Wong book, I don't think it's actually Ted. It's The Straight Lead by
Terry Tom.
Yes.
Yep.
But I think that's like one of his students,
that's
right?
One of she's a Ted Wong one too. Yeah, Rodney, man. The thing about Rodney is Rodney's been doing martial arts for so long and in so many different arts with so many different people. He literally has connections to everybody. It's wild.
His concepts of grappling are great. Like I've just seen and been around it minimally, but like seen people he's produced and. Oh my God.
Well, I remember being that young dumb kid that was just like basically like I would try to find stuff that he didn't know. Like I would look up books and articles and YouTube, like, hey, check this out. And he's like, yeah, that's really cool. But if you do it this way, it's better. And I'm like, God, every time, like nothing. It's like I can't find anything he doesn't already know how to do.
Yeah.
But that's what made us as good as we were. You know, it was funny because everybody knew about JKD and everybody, thought we were all kickboxers and we were all strikers. But man, half of us had better ground games than we did stand up, and it was because of his, just his
non-classical grappling.
Non-classical,
right?
Just his concept. And I mean, it wasn't even like crazy wild submissions or anything like that. It was just the concept of flowing stuff together and positioning and all this stuff that it was all basic stuff that we were doing, but we were just so good at it.
I'll tell you somebody else along these same lines, and like I put Rodney in a category with these people just based off what I know about him, but Eric Paulson.
Oh yeah, we went to a Paulson seminar. Yeah. Me and Rodney went to a Paulson seminar together in Tulsa, and it was so cool.
Have you seen those old Inosanto tapes from the 90s with the blue background?
No.
And Eric Paulson's his uke, right?
Oh, yeah.
He's his like demo partner. But they do Ponatukan. They do... they've got JKD concepts. They do this, I think it's 6-part series, but it was on YouTube. They put it up and take it down periodically. I haven't, I need to try and find it and buy it.
Yeah, find the whole set.
Yeah, but because it'll periodically be up, and I will watch the shit out of it. Same thing for like in the 80s, Inosanto had a bunch of Filipino stuff.
Oh yeah, the Filipino stick fighting and all that stuff. Yeah, I've seen some of that stuff.
That is great. There's like 2.5 of them that are just like single stick, double stick, and knife. And then like that's my meat and potatoes. I'm like, bro, that wave blade with the knife, you're freaking me out.
Yeah, what's going on here right now? I'm mesmerized by it.
Yeah. But man, it's all great content.
Oh, dude, there's so much. I'm lucky to be in this day and age of martial arts where everything is so accessible. Like, it doesn't matter what it is, how old it is, where it's at. Somebody somewhere has it, and you can find it and watch it, and it's so amazing. I
bought Greg Nelson's clinch set from an Eric Paulson website.
Yeah, that's
right.
What I'm saying.
So it's just like, all right, yeah,
find it wherever you can find it, man. Like you're talking about that Mark McFan deal. I had stolen that Mark McFan set from my dad on VHS, like way back when I started, training, and watched all that stuff when I was young. I was probably like 20, maybe 21 at the time. It's just stuff like that. Like I have, like you talking about the fight. I have a video, an old VHS of Andy Thrillkill fighting in Fort Smith on a Danger Zone show way back when.
I wonder if that is not the same one.
It might be. Him and my dad fought in the same night.
Yeah, I bet it is.
Probably is. But
he was training with these guys, Toon, over in Oklahoma.
Yeah, Brett Toon.
Yeah. Wow.
Those guys are in Mena, man. They're still in Mena. They're out now. I used to work with some of those guys. So I mean, that's one of your guys that trained with you all through a long time was Ryan.
Yeah,
I started training with Ryan in Mena for a long time.
Savage, dude.
It's wild. Him and Cody and Luke Gates is another one that I trained with. That trained with you a lot.
Yeah, so. Luke's been coming back in over the last year or so.
Yeah,
you're seeing him a lot before the lockdown. And he was coming in noon class, evening class.
Yeah.
But I haven't seen him a whole lot since. But yeah, he's been in and out. I don't know if he's still living here though.
He lives in Boonville now. He's just bought a house in Boonville.
Okay, good.
Just in the last couple months. So
good. Yeah,
he's back around now. Yeah,
right. I saw him. He shared this Patrick Swayze post.
Oh yeah.
I was like, it was like talking about Benny the Jet.
Yeah.
And then I think Zane Isaacs commented on it. Right?
Yeah.
So what? So after Rodney kind of got out, like how did things diffuse out from there?
So at the time that Rodney kind of shut down, Zane was still teaching. He was teaching at a school in Van Buren, kind of like there was like 2 or 3 different kind of schools in one building. And so I was still fighting at the time. So I would train on my own at home. My mom's husband, Dustin, has been fighting. I started fighting in 2009. He probably started in like 2010 or 2011.
What's his last name?
Keeter.
He came down
probably with Luke, I'm sure.
With Luke one time, yeah. Real good kick by good grappler too.
Yeah,
good wall work.
Good, yeah. So me and him trained together pretty much at home. Like we had, built just a little spot in the house to train, and then I would go to Van Buren and train with Zane every chance I could, and that's just what I was doing to fight. And that was kind of where we were for a while. And then once Zane left there, we kind of got into a limbo where I didn't really have anywhere to train. I was just kind of bouncing around. I was going into Oklahoma and training with the redneck guys like Chase Smith and Rodney Allison, those guys. I was driving to Searcy and training with the Barada guys. I went over there and trained a couple times with the Barada guys.
I've trained with Willie, Rudy so much over the years, but I used to, when Willie was in Cabot, I would drive up there at least once a month for a long time.
And then I was training in Mena with Ryan and Cody and all those guys. So I was just kind of bouncing here to there, training wherever I could, anywhere I could get working with guys. So that's pretty much how I was for a long time until a gym opened in Boonville. Chance Farley's gym opened in Boonville. I trained there for quite a while, but I kind of it was kind of one of those deals where at that point I was pro and I'd been fighting for so long, and we had a lot of just young, new guys that were good guys, but they just weren't what I was used to. They weren't really pushing me as much as I needed to be pushed to keep fighting the guys I was fighting. So I stayed there for a while until Foster opened his gym.
Are you training with Brian Foster now?
Yeah.
See, so here's a wild story. One time I trained with Brian Foster way back in the day.
Yeah.
Like this would have been 07 ish. He drove from like Salisaw, I think it was, on his motorcycle.
Yep, that sounds like Brian.
Dude, to like down, I guess he went down the interstate, but he drove and he would train. He would like beat the fuck out of us, and then he would leave. Yeah. Like, or at least he beat the fuck out of me. I don't know about everybody else. I was trying to survive. I only trained with him one time though.
That's how I met Brian in like 2000. I'm trying to think. I went pro in 2013, so I probably met him in like 2014, and he was at the time was training, I think in Colorado. But he would come home, and then when he was home, he'd be like, hey, I need you guys to train with while I'm here just to keep me, in shape and whatever. Yeah. And so I was meeting him and training then. And then I think it was probably at the end of 2014, maybe the first of 2015, he's like, hey, I'm opening a gym. Like I've got all this stuff. I'm getting a building. I'm going to open my own spot in Fort Smith. And so I was like, say the word.
2014 you said this?
I think it was like 2014, 2015 was when he opened his gym. And I was like, say the word. I'm there. I mean, I'll be there every day, like whatever. And so that's when, as soon as he opened his building, that's where I was. I've been there ever since.
How long of a drive is that for you?
That's like 45, 50 minutes from Boonville. Not too bad.
That's not terrible.
Yeah.
Dude, I drive 25 minutes to the university.
Yeah.
When we're going.
In school, yeah.
I'm like, I got a bunch of really cool stuff in my office, and I'm like, maybe I should move all that stuff here. Right?
Are we ever going back? Can I just move it all out now?
I got these 2 recliners in there. I was like, maybe I'll just put those over there. We got a third spot to sit.
That's right. Build up your own spot.
So Brian Foster, man, he was in the UFC, and then he had this issue with this brain hemorrhage, right?
Yeah. I don't know. Basically, what it turned out to be is like a birthmark. Basically, it's from what I talked to him about, it's his birthmark. But UFC super, no hands off about any kind of brain injury, and so it popped up in one of his pre-fight medicals, and that was it. They were kind of hands off, and I mean, the way of the world is once the UFC is kind of hands off, everybody else kind of is the same
elsewhere
way.
After that, like World Series or something, or no?
He has, yeah. He went through just kind of this limbo phase where he was kind of bouncing around, fighting a lot of different places, and then he got into World Series, and then he ended up moving into PFL. But PFL does all their finals in New York City, and New York is the toughest commission to get approved through for everybody. New York doesn't want to approve anybody, so it kind of got to the point where he was like, well, I can't, no matter how good I do, I'm not gonna be able to fight in the finals. So
yeah, dude, I just had Sambo Steve on the podcast. Zoomed in,
Yeah.
And he was talking about, I'm going to make a clip out of it. I made one clip out of the beginning of our podcast, but he talked about legalization. Like he was considered and I believe voted to be a commissioner, but didn't make the final cut. But he was in there's an initial group. 7 people that were being recommended, but he lobbied for that hard.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It was, I remember it being a big deal forever, but we couldn't get stuff to happen in New York, but now even though they're there, it's so hard. It's so hard. Like just the Nate Diaz Masvidal cut, that whole controversy with that deal. I mean, it's everything about New York seems to be harder.
For real.
Everything has to be harder over there, I guess. I don't know. So
that's interesting. And I'm looking forward to re-listening because I talked to Steve when he was like, but man, we talked about the craziest non-martial arts shit.
Oh yeah,
for
just the whole on these wild tangents.
Well, he worked in pediatric oncology.
Oh yeah,
so he was telling me this one crazy story. I'm gonna put into a clip that's about this kid who maybe they're hallucinating, whatever. Maybe they're talking to the angel of death. I don't know, but they're like, I will go if I can bring my yellow notebook. And then the kid's like, all right, I won't bring the notebook.
Yeah.
Jeez. And then the kid dies.
Yeah.
I'm like,
what is happening right now?
I mean, he explained it way better than that, but that'll be something I turn into a clip, and I'm just like, we talked about stuff like that, and then we started talking a little bit of, well, then I opened a gym.
I realized this wasn't for me. I'm out.
Man, but that guy, he has all these publications. We had one of the greatest talks, and he did fight choreography for John Wick 3.
Oh, that's pretty sweet. That's cool, man.
Yeah, he was like, you guys don't roll into Angelica Houston when she walks, because it's a big Sambo scene, right?
Yeah.
But New York, it's interesting. I did Eddie Fivey. Do you know him at all?
Who?
His name's Eddie Fivey. He orchestrated, there's this video of this gigantic Hickson seminar. They didn't show any techniques, like a highlight video.
Yeah.
400 people attended. That's at Eddie Fivey's gym.
That's wild.
It's maybe the largest adult jiu-jitsu seminar. They had one in Abu Dhabi. It had 3,000 kids.
Yeah.
Flavio Kennup, who's been on the podcast, he rode a scooter from Brazil to Canada or something. Alaska.
God. Yeah.
He was at that kid's jiu-jitsu class, talked about it on the podcast.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So, man, martial arts is so cool.
Dude,
that's why I did. This
so
is
wild.
this is the MMA show. This is the spin-off.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I joke around. I'm trying not to burden my normal audience with this and these podcasts. Whereas I did one on the Civil War on Friday. It's got 200 views. This will get 2,000 probably at least.
It's just crazy. Like we were talking about before, the variety of people. It's just so. Back in the day, it was so obscure, and you'd be like, it's underground, nobody talked about martial arts.
Now it's the only sport on TV.
Yeah,
dude.
now it's there. It's everywhere now.
Oh man,
keeping the sports fans alive right now.
For real, it's it has become such a well, I wrote my master's thesis on some of this stuff, and I've been kicking around, like talking with Sambo Steve got me pumped because that dude has so many publications and sent me all of this these Sambo recommendations of like literature for like sources to cite, because when I wrote I talked about Sambo, I basically did a comparison between like, here's martial arts in the Cold War in the West, and here it is in China and the Soviet Union, and here's Sambo coming out, and here's reasons they're using it, here's wushu, Mao creates wushu, right? But I'm really wanting to revive that. I did like this 3-chapter spread on it, but it's like I really kind of set myself up to kind of go into this phase of it. But it's just like the culture, how globalization, and just they pushed it to where it's this big cultural phenomenon.
Yeah, it's taken over the world, man. It's like I said, you go from a bunch of people underground beating each other up in garages to now it's, I mean, you see the revenue up until coronavirus. I mean, it was one of the, I was talking to people in California. We went to LA for one of our guys' fights for Bellator. And we're talking to guys that are pulling in, close to $1 million a year running a gym. And you're just like, this is insane. Like I remember in, 2009 when nobody trained, like there was no gyms anywhere. Like there was 3 gyms in all of the state of Arkansas. And now it's like, people are out there making crazy money and they're blowing up, man. They're everywhere.
Yeah, dude, imagine like West Side.
Oh yeah, I know. If you could put West Side in that environment, oh man,
they're on fire.
Oh dude, it's insane, isn't it? They've been blowing everything up.
I want to. I was talking with Bryce, has been on the podcast.
Yeah,
when things kind of playing out for him a little bit, if they ever do.
That's true. Yeah, he keeps making that rise.
I've been talking to him, just texting back and forth. I talked to him on the phone a little bit the other day about, I want to zoom into that seminar him and Brandon McCaffrey are doing on the Twister, dude. It's in Oxford, Mississippi. I can't set aside the whole weekend for it. Yeah. I'm kind of, I don't know, it's kind of paranoid about going around and being around like tons of people from other states. I don't
mixing into that.
And then coming back here like today for like, I actually bargained with Cora. She's going to hang some of my artwork for me. I'm teaching her kids kickboxing.
Swapping out. That's right. That's the way to do it.
Dude.
That's what marriage is about, right? Compromise.
I am terrible at hanging stuff on the wall, and she's awesome.
That's funny.
Yeah. But, I was like, guys, like, let me zoom in. I was like, as a matter of fact, let anybody from my gym zoom in. We'll pay $15 extra, whatever. I was like, I would love to go, but I was like, I can't drive down there. I was like, I could probably get you guys a few $100 by getting some students, but I don't know if that's going to pan out. But Brandon McCaffrey, the Eddie Bravo black belt from Decatur, Alabama.
Mm-hmm. I've seen some of his stuff too. Yeah.
Amazing. He did a seminar here. Not this one. I was across town.
Oh yeah.
At a 4,000 square foot facility, and he came in, and it was actually, he did guard passing. I joke around with people. I'm like, that's the 3rd best jiu-jitsu seminar I've ever been to.
Yeah.
Behind Hickson and a guy who literally does privates with Hickson on the regular basis named Jack Toffer.
Yeah.
Right.
He's some good dudes.
Yes. And but like, I mean, Brandon's trained with Hickson a lot, but I've never I guess I have understood some of the hate on Eddie Bravo, right?
Yeah.
The flat earth and the conspiracies. And, I think that's hilarious.
I do too. He's a weird dude, but I mean, he's
so creative.
Yeah, dude. He's changed no-gi jiu-jitsu, I mean, forever. Like some stuff I remember. So I got super big into, really for me, it started with lockdown. That's where I really started was lockdown. Cause I was training with my mom's husband, Dustin, and this guy named Bobby. Those are my 2 only training partners. And Dustin was about 230 and Bobby was about 215, 220, rode bulls, worked on an oil rig his entire life, so they're just manhandling me. I weighed 170 pounds maybe. So they would literally take me down and just blow through my guard and just beat me up. And so I started learning lockdown stuff, and that was the only way I could use to control them and sweep them and do anything. And that was like 2010. We've been doing the 10th Planet warm-ups, right? Mm-hmm. And these last 3 sets of warm-ups have had a pretty healthy dose of lockdown. And I've been telling all of them, I'm like, I learned this when I was a white belt. Yeah. Right? Like this would have been, I don't know if you've ever trained Mike Page from Inferno. He's a black belt there. Bald, kind of a bigger guy, but he's been around forever. But he was teaching lockdown at a MMA practice we had in 2007, I remember, and I was just like, this is crazy. I remember somebody giving me a book I don't even think I had a fight yet. I think I didn't even had fought.
Was it that one right there? Right about, you see the little wood block? Mastering Jiu-Jitsu, or Jiu-Jitsu Unleashed, rather?
It was this one. It was the Mastering the Rubber Guard one.
Okay, yeah.
That's someone giving it to me, and I was like, okay, cool. And I literally read the whole part on the lockdown and started doing it, and then just ignored the rest of the book. I never even read the rubber guard or the spider mount. Never read any of it for like a year. Like all I did was lockdown forever. Yeah. And then I was like, hey, look, there's like 2 more chapters to this book.
That was me with like the twister and the truck and stuff. I got way more into 10th Planet's Half Guard.
Yep.
Just like exactly like what you're saying.
I was the same way. I just was tired of getting my half guard pass, or people passed my full guard, and I was kind of like, whatever. But then when I couldn't hold them in half guard anymore, I was like, okay, I got to figure something out. I got to do something different.
Dude, that Hoyler Gracie fight, the second one,
the Metamorph.
I mean, the first one's great too, but the second one, we watched both of them on the podcast recently.
My favorite part of the first one is Joe Rogan freaking out as soon as like Eddie's like still in disbelief, like what just happened, and Joe Rogan is losing his mind.
Dude, that Joe Rogan and Cormier and what's the other guy's name? I forget.
Felder, was it
Anik,
Felder?
John Anik. They're all just like,
yeah, exactly.
That said, dude, that meme has been used. That photo's been repurposed into 100 dank memes.
It's hilarious, man. Some of the stuff, everything Joe Rogan does to me is hilarious. Like his whole, he's built such a crazy fan base off of just.
I hope that he and Chappelle do something nearby. I would love to go see that.
Oh, that'd be amazing. Yeah. Those two are like geniuses of the world. Man,
I hadn't really seen much of Dave Chappelle's stuff since he like burst back onto the scene. But then I was working in my office developing an online class, and I was just like, I'd gone down there just kind of like remove distractions, and I logged several days down there. But I listened to all of his comedy.
Oh yeah.
And I was just like, whoa.
Dude, I remember when he was, biggest thing in the world, and just
and like
ghosted.
It's like out. When we were probably high school, right?
Yeah.
I that's what I remember.
Chappelle show and all that, and just, now I'm good. Walked away.
The conspiracies around why he disappeared are wild.
It is pretty crazy. I've seen some pretty crazy different things about it, but.
Yeah, I was telling some sort of weird joke came up this morning, and I was like, if Chappelle tells this Cosby joke, he's like, yeah, Cosby, he minus 30 people of the number of people he's accused of raping. He still raped 2 dozen.
That's right.
I'm like, oh my God. Like he's like the OJ Simpson jokes that he's doing and stuff. Oh man. It's great. It's genius. It's comedic genius. And him and Joe Rogan on the same ticket together.
Oh yeah. It's just 2 guys that don't care to push the envelope, and I mean, honestly, they don't really care if you don't like them. They're going to say what they think's funny because they think it's funny, and that's it. That's really how they feel about it. You listen to
any other comedy, like older stuff or anything?
I used to listen to a lot. I listened to Kevin Hart was big. Went to a lot of Kevin Hart stuff. I used to listen to some Eddie Murphy stuff. Robin Williams, probably my favorite all-time stand-up comedian. Robin Williams was amazing.
If I could listen to one show, do you have a recommendation?
Man, that's a tough one. Let me think. I don't know about a whole show, but have you seen the clip of Robin Williams as the American flag?
No.
Oh, you need to look it up. It's hilarious. It's pretty funny. He comes out wearing a red, white, and blue shirt, and he just has all these just jokes about him, like basically as he's the American flag talking to all these people. It's a pretty good clip. It's a good clip.
Man, I was so devastated about his death.
I know. He was, I don't know, one of those, for me, one of the greatest actors of, like, I guess my generation is what you'd say, like my childhood growing up. For real. And the range, man, just from, like Patch Adams to being a 10-year-old kid in Jack, like just this crazy, wild variety of stuff. I mean, he was so good at everything.
Yeah. Hook is one of my favorites.
Oh, yeah. Hook's another great one, yeah. And even in that movie, he goes from the, straight-laced businessman in a suit all the way back to being like a childhood kid again in one movie. I mean, he's one of those guys, man, that I don't think there'll be another one of them ever.
I know a lot of people had a problem with that Aladdin live action. But I thought if they were going to do a live action, it was different enough. And then it's like, well, if you're going to cast somebody, I mean, I can deal with Will Smith.
Yeah, I mean, he did. He was good. I thought it was good. I mean, I watched it a couple times.
I thought the Jafar character kind of sucked.
Yeah, he was a little weak for a week. Yeah, a little weak too. He wasn't. Yeah,
Jafar was a good villain.
He was, dude. He's one of them. Yeah, one of those childhood villains that him and Scar, man, they're up there for your animated villains.
We went and saw Lion King when it was like back in theaters a while back. We went and saw the live action one, right? Yeah. We didn't even see that. But Cora and I have re-seen the cartoon in theaters since we've been together, right? But we sat down, and as soon as we sat down, she starts crying and looks at me and goes, Mufasa's going to die. Yeah. I was like,
I know what happens.
Like, as soon as we sat down, I was just like, oh, the little childhood trauma there.
Right,
she, like, I turned on Fox and the Hound at the house the other day, and she started crying. She's like, she's gonna drop the fox off, and the mom dies in the beginning.
Yeah. It's crazy. For me, it's awesome because now I have kids. So now I get to watch all this stuff.
Yeah, how old are your kids?
I have 9, 10, and 12.
Holy shit.
Yeah. So it's cool. So now I get to watch all this stuff. And it's funny, me and my wife were talking about this the other day. I try to like show my kids stuff I watched when I'm a kid. I'm like, hey, you guys should watch this movie. It was so great. And I started watching it. And then like halfway through it, I'm like, why the hell did my parents let me watch this? Like, this is not a movie that I should have been watching when I was a kid. And I'm like, sorry guys, we're gonna turn this one off. This is this is not one that we need to be watching. We'll revisit this in a couple of years. That's
funny. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I just saw one with the parents from the gym that was showing their kids something on like a kid's YouTube channel that was like, she said that they were cussing like all throughout, and I was just like, well, I don't know.
Yeah, well, that's what
I never really. I don't know if I've noticed it, but I was thinking back, like some shows that were kind of on the edgier side. Ren and Stimpy.
Oh yeah. Cow and Chicken.
Yeah, Cow and Chicken. Yeah. Rocco's Modern Life.
Yeah, it was a little iffy.
Yeah. But I don't know. I think I turned out all right.
Yeah,
you did too.
Made it all right. Yeah. I grew up in the Adult Swim era, so I mean, everything on Adult Swim was sketchy.
Dude, the Ace and Gary skit on what was it? Wow, man, what was it? Came on Space Ghost.
Oh yeah, Space Ghost, Coast to Coast. Yeah. Oh, there was some bad ones. Aqua Teen Hunger Force. That was a wild one.
We are the Aqua Teens. I love Aqua Teen, dude. Yeah. I had the first several seasons of that. Yeah,
Meat Wad and Shake and Frylock. Yeah. That's what I grew up on. Is all that old stuff. So. Yeah, me and my wife have very, very differing opinions on what's appropriate for our kids to watch. So that's probably why.
Dude, there's a funny ass Aqua Teen episode where like Shake is like fucking with Meatwad the whole time.
Oh yeah.
And Fry says something to him, and he's like, "Why is anything anything?"
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
He's like, "Why did you do this to me? Why'd you put him in the dryer?" He's like, "Why is anything anything?"
Yeah, he's like trying to pawn it off on society. I mean, what are you talking about? This is the way the world is. There's nothing I can do about it.
Yeah, but I say that all the time. Like, why is anything?
Yeah,
dude. So let's sidebar here. So, dude, why don't you drink coffee?
I'm just not a coffee man. I don't like the smell of it. I don't like the taste of it. I'm just never have.
I respect that.
My wife drinks coffee, but even like the Scentsy things, she has the coffee Scentsy. I'm like, can't even do it.
Cora has a love-hate relationship with it. Like she is now where she will only drink like one a week, and it's like her guilty pleasure. I'm just like, it's my second one today.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. This has been me, man. I've been on this monster kick since I was probably like 15 or 16. And
dude, I drank Mountain Dew for the longest time, which is, I'm glad I very rarely drink one. I would not even say once a month.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I just do I do a couple coffees and like electrolyte supplement and water, dude. I mean, and vitamin C.
Yeah, vitamin C is the good stuff. Yeah, since I stopped fighting all the time, I drink and eat anything and everything, whatever I want. I used to fight at 155 pounds, which is insane. Yeah. People that meet me now that never saw me back then.
What are you walking around at now?
Probably 220 right now. 225.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Probably somewhere in there.
Okay.
That's pretty 6'2".
Okay, yeah. I was like, so you're a couple inches taller than me, I noticed. I was thinking you were much taller. Yeah. I was like, in my mind, I was like, yeah, dude, he's like 6'4". Like Nate Murdoch height.
Yeah. No, not quite that tall, but yeah, but it's even now, even when I was fighting at like 85, I was like, man, I can't believe I ever made 55. Like, it's like me and Brian talk about it, like whenever I, like, cause from time to time I'll fight. I'm like, hey, I want to fight, in a couple months, like give me time to train. I want to fight. And he's like, well, wait. And I'm like, probably 85. I was like, maybe 70. He's like, never 55. I was like, no, never again 55. Never happening again.
I had a fight at 55. I'm like 190, 195 hovering around right now, but I'm actually like lifting 2 to 3 times a week and just doing things. I got more muscle than I had when I was like, I got up to where I was like 210 after I stopped competing. Like I just had all this like goal oriented practice and competing, and then like after like what you're saying on the other side of that, I was like, man, fuck it, I'm gonna enjoy life and
everything.
But I did notice a lower quality of life.
Yeah, I can definitely tell.
But, honestly, I just got a wellness checkup yesterday, and my doctor, I told her I'd had these weird issues with a nocturnal panic attack.
Oh, yeah, like waking up in the middle of the night?
Yeah, and I talked to 3 total people about it. Responses varied. Like, first doctor's like, I almost guarantee you have sleep apnea. Like, look, you're telling me you're like a little overweight. You're weighing like 210 right now. The doctor yesterday was like, did you have horrible indigestion around that time? I was like, yeah, I did. Yeah. And she's like, well, let me explain this science to you. It's very scientific. I don't want to get into it right now. But she talked about how whatever happens, something closes off, and my trachea and laying down, indigestion, and it's very scientific. I don't know. But I was like, so you think it's indigestion? I was telling her, I was like, yeah, I did. My indigestion was so bad, a couple of times I threw up because of it. And that's never happened before. And I have no problems with that now. Right. So I don't know, but I just like, I don't know if that's what was causing it. I don't know if it was, I had talked to one other person that was like stress.
Yeah. And I was the thing everybody passes everything off. Know, it's all stress. It's all stress's fault.
Yeah. And I was like, well, yeah, but I was like, I've been this stressed before, right? Like it was around the time I started working at the university too, right? So it's like I was having all these changes in my life.
New life stuff, yeah.
We were trying to move over here. Yeah. We were trying to build actually. Yeah. We ended up moving. Yeah. Yeah. But it was just a weird time, and I got leveled out and got healthier and started exercising every day.
Such a big thing, dude. People, like, I work in a hospital, been working in hospitals for over 10 years now, and I see so many people that come in like, oh, I have this problem, this. And I'm like, yeah, well, it's because you eat terribly and you don't exercise and you don't sleep right, and I mean, there's so many things that just.
I was on melatonin, man. It was weird because like I went from where I would take like a refreshing nap during the day. Like when I was just here at the gym for like 5 years after my grad, I had a rhythm. But when I started teaching, it was out the window. But you would think me working all day, I would be able to sleep well at night. No.
Dude, I can't. I don't sleep hardly. I don't sleep well at all. And it's not even about my body. It's like my mind. It's like I'm so busy all day doing things that I don't think about stuff. And then as soon as I get in bed, it's like all these thoughts that I skipped over all day long while I was busy doing stuff, like all just come to my head at once. It's just can't sleep.
See, I was struggling with that a little bit too. And what I was telling somebody this morning, what kind of regulated that for me, if like I've been posting about it a lot, is listening to audiobooks. Oh yeah. All the passive time, let's say I'm on the elliptical or the row machine, all that passive time, I now have my AirPods in.
Oh yeah.
Right. And I'm exercising, listening to like whole albums of my favorite bands or books. Like I've done 62 books this year.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And that's that. And those are audio books, and there's a couple in there that are physical books.
Yeah.
Excuse me. But it's like, it's been a really motivating thing for me. And like what I was telling them is like that time that I wasn't listening to books every day, a couple hours, I would probably be having like negative thoughts and shit, or my mind would be racing because it does.
Yeah, it's just all those things that you should have done or need to do tomorrow, or why didn't I do this? Why didn't I do that? It's just constant. Yeah, see, it's funny, and people like comment on like how cool all this shit is, and I'm just like, it's a disease. Yeah, it's a disease. I can't control it.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of is like being creative and like having these hobbies like we have. Like even if it was just martial arts, but then it's like, well, martial arts is great. I got to own a gym, and I got a podcast about it.
I got to talk about it. Yeah, I'm bad, man. I have so many varying interests. That's what's really my problem.
Well, how did you decide to get in the medical field?
My mom's a nurse. My aunt's a nurse. Her husband Dustin's a nurse. Like I grew up in a whole family full of nurses, and literally when I was in like 7th or 8th grade, I took this class, and they were like, hey, the whole point of the class was I think it was called careers or something. You're supposed to research these careers, and at the end of the semester, you had to make up this little project about, what the annual salary, all this stuff like that. And I literally was like, hey, what's a really good job I can make pretty good money and not really do a lot of work? And X-ray tech was like one of the first ones that popped up. And I was like, I'm in. That's what I want to do right there.
Dude, I joke around about that because I became, then a history professor. But like, I remember like talking to one of my aunts, and she's super successful in life, and she is in like, she was a social worker for a long time. Now she runs this place that it's called Forster Davis. I don't know if you ever heard of it, but I was talking with her, and she's like, you should become a radiology tech. Like, a couple of years of school, like you're going to get paid like almost $40,000 a year.
It's
like
pretty good. It's a good gig, man. I can't, like I said, I've been doing it for 10 years. Can't really complain too much about it. So,
and I told her, I was like, I think I want to get a history degree.
Yeah.
Like, what are you going to do with that?
Yeah.
Like, that was but then too, like, other, it wasn't just her either, right? And no hard feelings either. But then other people are like, martial arts is just a fad, Brian. When are you going to stop
make a career out of
that?
this? Yeah.
And I'm like, right? That's like, I joked a couple of weeks on Facebook. Those two statements uttered by multiple people are two of the most defining, ironic statements ever
full circle, and you're like, look at that.
And I think people get that. But
for sure.
But too, man, I'm such a firm believer that you could do anything.
You can make anything a career. You see people that don't do nothing but YouTube and TikTok all day long. You make a career out of anything these days.
True that.
But yeah, I mean, for me, X-ray, like I said, medical field, it's always going to be jobs. People are always going to be sick. You know, it was like a fallback kind of thing. You know, at the time, I didn't start fighting until I was probably halfway through my X-ray school, like halfway through college. I started fighting, and so I was like, this is cool. I'm fighting, you know, and you know, I have X-ray. If worst case scenario, I blow up my ACL or whatever, and I can't ever fight or do anything again, I can always be an X-ray tech. It'll be fine.
Yeah. You ever have any injuries or anything crazy? Fight out?
Honestly, no. Really, the worst thing I have is this bad cauliflower ear. That's really probably about as bad as it gets.
Bro.
And I tore my meniscus last September.
Now you have more flexibility in those leg locks.
Yeah, that's right. No one bother me now.
Yeah. Have you been seeing these photos pop up of Shia LaBeouf? It's like, it's Shia LaBeouf, but then it'll be like, it like zooms in on his ear, just like you just did. And it's like, what's going on here? Shia LaBeouf's training guys. Like, we
got him in. He's in. Him and Ashton. We got Ashton Kutcher now. Now we're adding Shia.
Did you see that video of Ashton Kutcher rolling with like Craig Jones? I think it was. It was atrocious.
I'm sure.
It was not very good. It wasn't as bad as everybody I knew was giving him shit for.
Everyone's got to,
I wonder who, a celebrity I wonder about their jiu-jitsu is Freddie Prinze Jr.
Yeah.
Right?
It'd be a good one to see.
Yeah.
I think I always thought it'd be cool if they would come out with a show. Like, you see all these people like basketball players and celebrities that talk smack to each other all the time but the thing is, they say all these things because they know never in life are they ever going to have a physical altercation. It's never going to happen. So we need like celebrity deathmatch, but like real life, like tough man rules, headgear and boxing, 2 minutes round.
Oh, so they did that once, but it was not like what we want.
Yeah,
right?
No.
We want like Shaq and Charles Barkley.
Yeah, so I'm saying, you two guys that really don't like each other, And I think one or two things would happen. Either we would settle some of these beefs, or people would talk a lot less trash.
Who was it? The guy that played Screech in Saved by the Bell.
Dustin Diamond or whatever?
Yeah, he boxed somebody, right?
Oh, that was I remember the celebrity boxing stuff.
Yeah, there was.
I remember, who was it? Was it Roy Jones Jr. that beat the crap out of a fan or whatever like that? They did the bidding for whoever could have a sparring match with Roy Jones Jr. He just obliterated this guy.
That guy's like still, well, I don't know recently, but like a couple years ago he was fighting.
Oh yeah,
Roy Jones Jr.
Yeah,
his story is when he was multi-division. Like, I remember watching this big highlight about him probably in 2009, 2010. And it blew my mind because I'd never really followed him until that time.
Yeah,
but
There's so many people that have these just wild, like I remember hearing stories about Matt Hughes about like training for these world title fights for like 2 weeks, like nothing, just busy working, farming, show up like 2 weeks out and then go beat Sean Shirk or GSP or somebody. Then you're like, how does this happen, man? That's a sad story about him. With that getting hit by a train. Crazy, man.
Yeah.
I remember hearing that thinking like, this can't be real. This has got to be one of those.
Go watch some of the videos they've made about him, dude. There was one that I like. It pretty much made me cry.
Oh, yeah. He was in bad shape.
Yeah, he was a horrible traumatic brain injury, and it had affected his speech. Mm-hmm. Like, he could
like
talk.
The dude from, what's the guy from Oklahoma City? The guy that owned R1 MMA? You know what I'm talking about?
Oh.
Matt.
I don't know.
What's his name? He was in the UFC too. Same type of deal. I think he got rear-ended at a red light. I think he was sitting at a red light and got rear-ended.
Do you know
Same
who
deal.
Mark Barber is? He had a horrible neck injury from getting in a car accident. Like damn near kept him out of training. Like, and still he's I don't think he likes getting hit in the head. I mean, I've sparred with him, but like I remember then that, and then something else happened where he broke his orbital bone. Ooh, like a fluke sort of a deal.
That's a bad one.
Yeah, but I mean, he's like in his 40s, you know. But it really he owns 501 in Conway.
Yeah. Well, that's this dude from Oklahoma. I think he's from Oklahoma City. His name, he was a cop. He was a cop in Oklahoma City. His name was, I can't think of his name, Matt something. But I've seen him since. I've seen him at a couple like Tulsa shows and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But it's the same deal. He was in the UFC and doing all this stuff, and then just gets rear-ended or hit at a red light, and that's it. It's over, man.
That's
no more UFC fighting. And I mean, they were real. It's kind of like Matt thing. They were real concerned about whether or not he was going to live for a while, and then slowly he's come back around. But
that's wild, man.
It's crazy how fast stuff like that can just like the flip of a switch, and it's over.
Dude. So, what have you been seeing out there with like coronavirus and stuff? Do you care to talk about that?
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, it's weird. We haven't had a lot of it. I've probably seen I'd say maybe 15 positive cases that I've actually like been around seeing. I've only seen one person so far that's actually died from it, like complications from it. But I mean, it's a wild deal. There's so many varying theories, and there's so many different, opinions. Everything has to be so like one extreme or the other, in the world today. Nobody can have like that middle ground opinion about anything. So it's wild.
Yeah, it is. It's been, we're gearing up to go back to school here in a few weeks, and I'm just like, oh man, they have our little community college has some weird ideas on how things are going to work.
Yeah, I think everyone does. It's the thing, man. It's like there's extremists, like from one extreme to the other, from it's completely BS and, nothing really happens to, we're all going to end up in concentration camps because of coronavirus. I mean, it's just from one extreme to the other.
Yeah, I saw one. It's like, get in this rail car. They're going to cure your coronavirus.
Yeah,
I'm like,
it's crazy. But yeah, I know people that went to New York City and worked when it was bad there. I know people that are in Texas right now working in the high risk areas. I mean, for those areas, they're really getting hit hard. I mean, they're having people die, 5-6 people a day die. I remember hearing stories about them having to like FaceTime people in New York City so that they could take their loved ones off ventilators because no one's allowed to come in, no one's allowed to see them. So they're having to literally do all this through a tablet or whatever. So in places it's bad. It seriously is really a devastating disease, but we just haven't got to that point here. And so I think a lot of people here are like, oh, we're fine, there's nothing going on. And they're like, yeah, but there's more going on than just here. It's not just what's happening here, it's what's happening everywhere.
Yeah, those hot spots and how they're bouncing around.
It's wild.
I mean, here in Pope County, we're Pope and Yale County are hot spots in the state right now. Yep. And we have a little over 200 active cases in our community. I know 15 is a smaller number, but have you been able to see any trends in those cases that like, oh yes, the people who experienced the worst symptoms were...
No, dude, that's the thing about it. It's weird for me because like I said, I've been in healthcare for 10 years. So I've been through swine flu, Ebola, Zika, like all these crazy viruses that were supposed to be, world ending. And, they ended up being really not much of anything. But
that's what I thought this was going to be.
That's what a lot of people did too. I think that's kind of one of the problems we had in the beginning. The media has blown up all these other diseases so much over the years that everybody's like, whatever, it's just going to be another one of those, and kind of ignored stuff.
Do you think this is over sensationalized in the media? Do you think those were over sensationalized in the media?
Those ones definitely were
screwing us up now.
Yeah, I think I think those were very over sensationalized, and that kind of led to this one kind of being under appreciated whenever it came out, even though we'd seen a lot of stuff in other countries. I think generally as a country, we're like, oh, well, we have better healthcare, better living conditions, so it's probably not going to be as bad here once it gets. And I think it's those densely populated areas, man. When you have that many people living on top of each other, it's hard to prevent stuff from spreading as easily. That's one of the benefits we have here in Arkansas, is that our population generally in a day-to-day life is very spread out, outside of a few major cities that we have. For the most part, we're pretty spread out. So I think that's one of the reasons why we haven't been hit as hard as some of those areas have, but it doesn't take much, man.
Yeah, man, it's been a super weird time from like what you're saying, just seeing the angst of the one extremity to another.
Oh yeah, it's
like
crazy.
A weird / funny story. I don't even care about it, but somebody who used to go to our gym, like yesterday, there's a school board member, and it went viral, man. It got shared on state media, but the school board member was like, hell, daggone, man, I'm dang old Boomhauer trying to get my kid exposed before we go back.
Yeah,
man,
doing this herd immunity.
Yeah, but before that, he was like, if you don't send your kid back, you should be responsible to educate him.
Oh God.
Right. And then he said that he was trying to get his kid exposed so he could get antibodies. When I haven't really seen anything super compelling on antibodies lasting.
Yeah, that's kind of what I had an antibody test last week, I think, because I went and donated blood. Mm-hmm. I haven't got those results back yet, but it's interesting. Like, everything is so crazy. I've literally seen where like one person gets it and spreads it to their entire household. I've seen another story where a husband had it and his wife stayed in the house with him, slept in the same bed with him for the entire 2 weeks, never got it.
We had that here.
So I'm like
she got tested and got her results back damn near immediately. That's another thing, is literally test results coming back have been 2 hours to 2 days.
Yep, it's all over the place.
Yeah, but I think they may be conspiracies because I haven't seen good sources, but like people be like, oh, we sent these tests in that didn't even get swabbed and they came back positive.
Yeah. The rapid tests are very, I want to say inaccurate, but they're real dicey. The rapid tests are. So like normally for us, when you get a rapid test, whether it's positive or negative, they send it off anyway to have the full test done to it anyway, because they're still kind of on the fence about how accurate these rapid tests are. And it's really that way with everything. Even when the rapid testing for flu and strep and all that stuff first came out, you're like, well, how accurate can this be if it only takes 30 seconds to do? Like how much, so there's a lot of double checks and fail safes built into the healthcare system that people don't really know or see about. And so that's sometimes why some of those varying results can be like that. Like, because you may test negative on the rapid test, but they're like, well, is that really negative? So we're going to send this off and wait 2 days and get the real full panel run and see what happens to you. So
the conspiracy theorists are they're like, yeah, because they're infecting you.
Yeah.
That's what they're like. They put the coronavirus on the swab and then touched your brain. I'm like, damn, guys.
It's like, insane, isn't it?
George Soros, he did this? Like
Kaiser Sosa, what's going on here? Yeah, man. Yeah, there's some crazy stuff out there. Like I saw I think it was last night, they put this robot in the schools in Boonville that checks your temperature. Like you walk up and you thing it and you run your wrist up the side of it and it checks your temperature, and people are losing their minds.
Dude, I check everybody's temperature in the gym now.
But they're like, I don't want my kid being put into some government facial recognition. I'm like, oh, Jesus.
Oh, okay. So here's a funny ass conspiracy. You know how Trump's wearing a mask now, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like, the conspiracy is, since this, because Trump's like, I hear wearing masks are patriotic, and the ultra, I guess, people on his side of the aisle, or whatever you want to describe it as, are saying that somebody briefed Trump that mask wearing is thwarting all of the facial recognition software out there. So that's
why he's doing it,
which he likes.
Yeah,
he likes taking down those
facial
oversights, And but yes, he heard this, and that's why it's patriotic.
That's right.
I'm like, I don't know. That's a big reach. I would say, I don't know if Trump's for facial recognition or not. It's a pretty controversial topic.
It is.
And that's the first thing I thought when I was like, well, at least they won't be able to see our faces now.
Yeah. Now everybody's going to be getting away with stuff. People are going to be coming and going.
I honestly think that, okay, so I configured on my new Mac in that case right there, there's a little button over here on the side, and I tapped it 20 times, 2 sets of 10, and it scanned my fingerprint every time. I had to do it in like patterns, and it would just layer and layer and layer. Now, literally, I open it up and I go boom, and it logs me in. No typing the password.
Yeah.
So it's like, I wonder like how many, if you're going into a database like the NSA, and even your eyes, they're like, if they get 20 imprints and it's all going to the same place, if they can assimilate, oh, this person's face is like DNA or like fingerprints.
Well, that's like people are freaking out about this facial recognition with these kids things, and I'm like, okay, well, what do you think's happening at those self-checkouts at Walmart when they're scanning your face, and airports where they're scanning? I mean, you get scanned everywhere you go, whether you realize it or not. So
all right, I'm ready to fly.
That's right. Yeah. Stand assume the position.
Dude, I got frisked the last 2 times I flew, coming and going. Really? I was just like, damn, guys. And I'd never been patted down before. I don't know, it's my long hair.
It's weird. Maybe. Right.
I did have a long hair, and like I just kind of like grow my beard hair out, and I shave it, and I grow it out and shave it. Maybe I was like a hippie. I don't know.
That's right. You were a suspicious character.
I was coming back from a Widespread Panic concert.
That's right.
There's a wild crowd down there.
I imagine. Yeah.
You ever listen to Widespread Panic? most people I run into, because I'd never heard of them until 2015, and now like I follow them around the country whenever I can. But they've been a band since, I don't know, we were born.
Yeah.
But I never heard of them. And I've constantly wondered why, as a historian, but like they don't really get a lot of radio play. They own all the rights to their own music, but they're kind of like a southern rock band, man. They're from Athens, Georgia. But yeah, most people I run into that are, you know, I don't stereotype or anything, but people such as yourself are like, damn, that's good.
Yeah, I have to check it out.
Yeah. So they've connected the Allman Brothers and a bunch of bands.
That's wild.
Like that.
Yeah.
So, matter of fact, the drummer of Widespread Panic is the nephew of the drummer of the Allman Brothers.
That's pretty wild. I'll have to check it out for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. You ever listen to Derek Trucks? He's a slide guitar player. And he's the brother of the drummer of Widespread Panic.
There you go. It's like a family event.
Yeah. It's like, that's what fascinates me. I may write about it some days, like how connected all of these bands are.
Dude, it's crazy how much you hear about all these big time bands that are related or, you know, all kinds of, some kind of inner workings where they're all together somehow.
Yeah. Yeah.
My music, man, it just depends on what day it is. I'm all over the place.
What's some stuff you're into?
I'm hardcore on Luke Combs right now. Okay. I mean, it's blowing up all over the world, I guess. So I'm a big Luke Combs guy, but I mean, some days I'll go all the way back to the, you know, 90s rap. I was listening to NWA and Eazy-E last night when I was working in the lab. So
I said just the other day on the floor, somebody said something and I was like, I remember when Forgot About Dre was #1 on TRL.
That's right.
And they were just like, I was like, Total Request Live with Carson Daly. Hello.
Yeah, big window.
Yeah. Yeah, that's but yeah, man, the 90s gangster rap back in the day.
Oh yeah, it's the good stuff, man.
I love Tupac, man.
Yeah, Tupac, Eazy-E, Dre.
Yeah,
all that good stuff.
Man, Suge Knight, such a crazy character, right?
I always listen to stuff on like YouTube and stuff. So I have like wireless headphones. So when I'm in the lab doing whatever, I'll just put my wireless headphones on and let my phone just play and let it go. And all of a sudden out of nowhere, I hear this thing talking about the life and the crimes of Suge Knight, and I'm like, oh god, let's go change this one. Go put something else back to some music. Wild
ass stories. I guess he's in jail right now.
I think so.
Again, he's been in jail probably more time than not.
Oh, for sure.
For the last several years.
Yeah, he's been. Hey man, he's just, I don't know, one of them dudes.
Yeah, wild. That is like every time I watch a documentary and he's in it or something, it's just like such an interesting character. How he's been around as long as he had. Stayed alive as long as he had, and been in trouble as much as he had.
That's the crazy part, that he stayed alive this long. He's always in it with somebody. So
in the car with Tupac when he was shot.
That's crazy.
Fuck. Yeah. Did you like any of those movies that they released on what was it? What was the one that was about Dre? Was it Notorious?
Oh, I haven't seen Notorious. I watched the Straight Outta Compton one.
Straight Outta Compton, yeah, that's what I meant. But then there was another one around that same time.
The Notorious B.I.G. one. Yeah, I haven't watched that one, but the Straight Outta Compton one was pretty good. I think it's cool that Ice Cube's played by his son. That part's pretty cool. They look so much alike. It's wild.
Well, and the guy that played Dr. Dre, I'd seen him in a few other things. Like we used to watch Walking Dead.
Oh yeah.
I kind of fell out of it, but he was in that Walking Dead for a season or maybe more. But I thought he was a good actor.
Yeah, I thought it was a good movie.
Yeah, that stuff gets people reinterested, on nostalgia.
Brings it back around.
Like Cobra Kai. Yeah, right? You watch that any
Cobra Kai stuff,
It's going to be on Netflix now.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Yeah, they're moving it over from YouTube to Netflix.
That'd be good.
Dude, I've been super speculative about like YouTube.
It's weird, isn't it?
What I was saying, like it seems to be shifting way towards a kids audience. Mm-hmm. Right, like big time. I think most people like our age are probably showing their kids YouTube shows and stuff because, like, we watch YouTube.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of kids these days spend their time on like tablets and phones, and YouTube is just so easily to access. And I mean, you can find anything you want on YouTube. It's wild.
But man, the censorship is insane.
Mm-hmm.
And I will. Sorry, let me turn this off. Like I was saying to you, I will get. A couple of thousand views, maybe. And so I did one with, have you ever heard Mike Bidwell, the BJJ After 40
I've heard of him,
guy?
yeah, but
I did a podcast with him. It got 5,000 views on Facebook.
That's crazy.
It got like 40 on YouTube. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, I promote my YouTube, especially lately, because I was talking to Brandon Quick, and he's like, dude, you got to share your YouTube links over more. But half the time when I click a YouTube link from Facebook, not even my own, but sometimes my own, it'll say restricted mode.
Oh yeah, I've seen that too. Yeah, it's weird.
Like they're cutting each other off. Joe Rogan's leaving YouTube, and going over to Spotify. So I'm just like, and a guy that I came on the podcast, I'll release his episode tomorrow. Mike Andler's his name. He has a podcast, and he's like, I'm all in on Facebook.
Yeah,
I'm not even looking at YouTube.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's interesting, because I've thought about going that way. And like, people are like, well, the views on Facebook aren't the same. And I'm like, here are my analytics. Like, people are watching for 17 minutes. And like, I mean, I was like, that's a better analytic than I'm looking at here on YouTube.
Yeah.
But man, I really am just getting a bunch of momentum with the podcast, honestly. So.
Yeah, it's good. I think the YouTube thing gets it, because as soon as they push play, you get that view, even if they watch 10 seconds and they leave. So to you, like, oh, I got this many views. I'm like, yeah, but how many times are you actually holding your audience for the duration of a podcast or the duration of your entire clip?
Even like, so like gym technique videos, like I put out this little butterfly sweep counter, like a way to counter while somebody's sweeping you. And I shared it on Facebook. I got some hateful comments from white and blue belts, but I got like 6,000 views and a bunch of positive comments too. But like a couple people talk shit, and I was like, I made it. Yeah, this is it. Like, this is like, never have I had 2 people talk shit and 6,000 views on any video on YouTube. But Facebook, it was getting shared. But that's my highest view so far on like a gym video. But the gym YouTube, I like just having them saved there.
Yeah, they're just there. It's like a library. Like, you can just go back and look them up, find them.
Yeah, and I will put a percentage of that content on like maybe Instagram or Facebook. Yeah. But man, it's weird. I've had people I know that own martial arts gyms for years be like, yeah, Facebook's on its way out. Yeah. Like 5 years ago, and I'm like, I'm all in, man. I'm paying Facebook some money today, so that I can get more people in.
More sponsorship, more pushing your stuff.
We get tons. That's like our number one medium.
Oh yeah,
people hitting us up daily.
Yeah, that and Twitter, man. Or
I never broke into Twitter.
I never did either, but I know so many people that's all they do. That's all they do is Twitter. Like, they don't even mess with their Facebook and stuff anymore.
I think I'm going to make a personal Twitter to really pump the podcast, honestly. Yeah. But I've always had an issue with creating things with my name because I had the same name as the Beach Boys singer.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, just having a comment like William Walker. You know how many William Walkers there are in the world?
I got a great story. I was going to joke about this. And it's kind of ironic, but you commented like a few months ago. I was like, I'm looking for podcast guests. You're like, I'll come on. I was like, hell yes, I would love to talk to you. Yeah. But tomorrow, there is a pharmacist in the Arkansas's oldest pharmacy, C&D Drug, named Will Walker.
There you go.
And he's coming on tomorrow,
That's
a Zoom
awesome.
meeting.
Back
and
to
just how the scheduling worked out, because I talked to him a long time ago about coming on, like before the shutdown, and he's been out. He's still not come back. Oh, I don't know if he's worried about, because he's like around sick people getting meds all the time or what, but he hasn't been back to training. But I've been talking with him, and he's like a friend at this point, you know. Yeah. But he's going to come on tomorrow, so I was like, I might have to space these out, or like we got William Walker, the MMA fighter, and we got Will Walker, the pharmacist. Like on my meetings, it says that.
Yeah, split them up a little bit.
Yeah,
but anytime I try to do anything anywhere with William Walker, it's like 2 most common names in the free world. Like, it's insane.
I thought about seeing on Twitter, it's like fake Brian Wilson was available.
Yeah, you go. Yeah,
instead of everybody's like the real Brian Wilson.
Not really Brian Wilson.
Yeah.
Do you watch like any MTV stuff, any reality TV stuff at all?
No, not too much. Like what
have you ever seen The Challenge?
No.
Okay, so The Challenge is like it's basically they take contestants off of the real world. Now it's Big Brother. It's all these, and they put them in a house and they compete, kind of like Survivor style challenges or whatever. But the whole reason I ever started watching it was because of a guy named CT. He's a Boston dude. He's just a monster. But his Twitter handle is Famous for Nothing. I think is the greatest Twitter handle ever. I'm like, oh, it's so perfect.
Man, Twitter is it's an undeniable place of action.
Oh, dude, it is. It's wild. Space. And I've seen people get like crazy responses. Like, you know, they have bad service somewhere and they complain about it on Twitter, and within like minutes they're like, oh, here's a gift card for $100, you know, like just crazy wild response to stuff.
Yeah, I'm noticing that on Facebook a little bit. Like anymore, I'm just like the other day I was going to get a new Bluetooth speaker for my house, And I was like, what's the best Bluetooth speaker? I posted this group I'm in with like 20,000 people.
Yeah.
Look, what's the best speaker for these three? You know, I want to take it like floating. I want to even be able to put it in the shower. I want to listen to it in my kitchen, wherever. And I got like 200 comments.
Oh yeah, and people blow up for your opinion. You ask for someone's opinion, you get a whole lot of responses.
And just posting on my personal page, I get a lot of response too. Yeah. But I've kind of shifted to like posting in groups because there's so many communities in Facebook now. I was like, I play guitar and stuff and have an insane pedal collection, right? Mm-hmm. These different pedal, like I like collecting them. And I'm in this group that has 26,000 people, and they're posting about their pedals and their boards and all these things all the time. And I learned so much stuff from being in the group and just seeing it come across my feed.
You're like, I never even thought about that. Never even crossed my mind. But there's this guy doing it across the country. Yeah.
I know a guy, and I tried to see if we could turn a podcast. He said it would take too long, but he makes his own guitar pedals. It blows my mind. I'm like he has like a whole setup, and like I would have like this table. He's just like bags of stuff, drawers with it. Just makes his own pedals.
That's insane.
And he's posting the other day. He's like, "Hey, these people have been, supporting this human trafficking or some wild shit." And he's like, "But you can build a copy of their pedal." And
I can build it for you.
Yeah, and it was funny. He's like, instead of that, just build this. It's cheaper. You get to build the pedal.
Yeah.
But
dude, it's wild how you can connect into those groups of people. I'm in so many groups on Facebook. I don't even know. Like I was randomly looking. I'm like, I'm part of 57 groups, and I don't even know how.
That's really why I get momentum on the podcast. Like I'll share this in MMA groups that I'm in, or I'll share jiu-jitsu podcasts and BJJ groups, or vice versa. Yeah. Just push them out wherever and get a lot of listens.
Oh, yeah. People just eat that stuff up. Mm-hmm. I think it's easier, man. It's easier to share stuff on Facebook than it is on YouTube. You just bam, shared. YouTube, you got to go through the whole process.
I went live the other day, and I was able to share into a group.
Yeah. It's just so much things are a lot easier, a lot smoother transition.
I wonder if they'll ever try and regulate live feeds.
I don't know. You would think probably at some point they will. They'll try to put some kind of control stamp on it, but I think that right now there's so many options because people now are using Twitch and YouTube, and there's so many different ways to go live that I think they're probably like, well, if we put too much clamp on this, they're just going to go somewhere else. So, but I think if like you talking about how YouTube's people are kind of slowly coming off of YouTube and things like that. I think if everyone starts to switch to Facebook, they might.
Well, what got me thinking that is like, with Portland right now, but with these riots, protests, looting is. I've never really consumed media content on that. Mm-hmm. If I want to see what's going on, I go do a live video search on Facebook. Some people have said Facebook censored live videos. I've been able to find live feeds of people on the ground. Like this morning, I woke up and watched some video of Portland last night. There's a guy that does a podcast with the guys telling you about a minute ago from LA.
Yeah.
And he lives in Portland. And I've been following his posts for like the last 5 days about Portland. I should hit up Eli McLaughlin.
Oh, yeah.
He lives in Portland.
Yeah, he's up there. Yeah, forgot.
But all he's doing is taking nature walks and shit. And this lady I know locally, Meredith, she's going to come on the podcast soon. She has family in Portland and goes there every year. And she's just like, this is what my family says. And it's not what you see in the media.
Oh, yeah. It's always crazy how that they weed out the normal type of stuff. It's all, like I said, it's an extremist world we live in now.
Yeah, man, it's crazy. That's another thing with the coronavirus is how politicized it has become in the United States, particularly. Maybe it's like this in other Western nations, but man, it has just been something else.
Dude, everything now. The mask thing has become that way. Now it's the school thing, going back to school now is a political, argument about, this person versus that. It's just.
Yeah. See, man, that is like, I have been a little nervous. I mean, I'm just going to wear a mask the whole time I lecture and like till I go sit back down in my office, but I would much rather teach online.
Yeah. Well, I'm in class now, and they moved all of our classes for the summer online. And then, I'm enrolled in a class for August that he already said, he's like, we're doing online. Like we're not even gonna mess with it. We're just gonna do online from now on. So
my fear is we go back in because here's our guideline and plan. Everybody wears a mask. If you have a medical condition, don't come to class. Mm-hmm. You have to wear a mask if you're going to be in class.
Yeah.
and if you can't wear a mask, you can log in synchronously.
Yeah.
Here's my concern is student comes in, I say, hey, you don't have a mask on, you have to leave. They say I have a medical condition. I cannot ask them about the medical condition legally. That's
violation of their privacy.
Yes. So they want me to police that, and that's a little concerning for me. I'm like, I'm not a policeman.
Yeah, they're trying to put a lot of responsibility onto other people.
Yeah, and I don't really mind that as much, but it's a weird little.
It's a weird dilemma to find yourself in.
Yeah, but that, and so all of my classes, I'm shifting to where I'm teaching. I'm close to half of what I do online by the spring. Yeah. I've got it all set up, but I'd already made the schedule before we shut down last semester.
Yeah.
And it's all 5 face-to-face classes. So no social distancing, wear a mask, you'll be fine. And I'm just like, all my classes are full.
Yeah.
Completely. 30 people and 30 seats in the room. It's not, there's no overflow. The rooms are small. And I'm just like, oh man, I'm kind of paranoid about it. I don't know.
Yeah. It's, like I said, you have the right to be. Because it can get really bad.
Luckily, I believe it's a liberal conspiracy.
Yeah, that's right. That's all you got to do. That keep you safe.
Yeah, literally, I've thought about that. Like, what if people that tell themselves that are doing that as like a defense mechanism? Like, they have latched onto a truth that allows them to sleep at night.
It's so hard that no matter what you present them with, it's going to protect them.
Yeah, that's because. Man, even if it is, it's like I was thinking about this. My philosophy professor used to be like, believing in God is an argument. We go over arguments for it. It's like bear spray. You go into the woods and you don't have any and you run into a bear, you're screwed. Like you might get eaten by the bear, right? Well, if you have bear spray and you run into a bear, or if you don't, you're probably fine either way. Yeah. He's like, so believe in God, right? Same argument. And I was like, well, it's kind of compelling. Mm-hmm. But I'm kind of like, with coronavirus, I'm like, well, if I believe that it's a real and I act accordingly, because honestly, initially, and I think it's valuable to talk about this, I was like, you motherfuckers stop telling me to wear a mask.
Yeah.
And after enough education time, personally, I was like, I'm wearing a fucking mask.
Well, to me, like, people complain about it. I'm like, it's a mask, man. Like, if one person's life is saved because you wore a mask, is that not worth it to you?
That's the kind of stuff that, like, altruistic stuff like that is the reason I pivoted.
Yeah.
But I will tell you straight up, just the type of personality I am. Like, I remember when I was in 8th grade and they told me I couldn't wear shorts if I wanted to play in its praise and worship band at church. They told me I had a problem with authority, and I'm like, you're goddamn right. I have a problem with authority. Like, who doesn't?
I got a problem with you telling me I can't wear shorts. That's my problem.
But the sort of virtue signaling of, like, everybody telling everybody to wear a mask, like, I'm wearing one now everywhere I go, but I'm the personality type where I'm like,
it's almost like,
fuck you, I'm not going to wear a mask.
I don't want to wear it just because you told me to, yeah.
Dude. And I know I'm aware, at least I'm aware that I function that way and try and mitigate it. But I felt like that curbed me out of just like spite of their virtues, what I see as virtue signaling. Yeah. People would argue with me about it.
Yeah, my deal at first was that, like, every day when I go to work, they check our temperature, they check for any signs, symptoms, everything like that. So when I'm not at work, I'm like, dude, I'm getting checked 3-4 times a week, whether I even have a symptom. So why do I need to be wearing a mask all the time? But then, like I said, I started feeling that way. I'm like, well, what if, if I can save one person's life by wearing this mask? I mean, it's mildly inconvenient, yes, but
that's the sort of stuff that pivoted me pretty quickly. Like, I was a few weeks in, but I wasn't going anywhere. The gym was closed.
Where I was.
Yeah, I wasn't. I remember going to Lowe's and Walmart a couple of times. And one time Walmart, I wore a mask, but there was a period of time where I couldn't get a mask.
Oh yeah, they were hard to come by for a while.
Yeah, and I'm gonna have to order some more. Like, we have worked close to through a 50-pack in the last few weeks.
Yeah. See, I've been wearing masks since March because I work in a hospital. So since March, I mean, you go to work, you wear a mask the whole time you're there. Like, unless you're sitting in an office by yourself with no one else in the room, you have to wear the mask. So for me now, I'm like, I wear it all day, every day at work anyway. So, I mean, what's a few more? When I'm not at home, like I said, I don't go really anywhere. I go to Walmart to get groceries, and that's about it. We don't really go a lot of other places. So,
Man, tell me, like, so like you're part of the world. How's the internet over there? How's internet access? Dicey?
It's all right. Yeah, it's dicey. Sometimes it's fine. I have my PS4 is hardwired into my internet, plugged in with like a cord. Works fine. But like my Wi-Fi is a little sketchy.
I just got, dude, they changed MacBooks to where I got to get like a special cable to plug into the thing. Yeah. And then now I got to get Sunlink to come here and give me a hardwired
line to plug in.
Yeah. So
like our Wi-Fi is in our modem is in our kitchen, kind of right between our dinner and kitchen. So PS4 is right there and it's hardwired in, works fine. But like all in the back of our room where our TV is, like our Fire Stick and stuff, it'll kind of kick itself on and off the internet sometimes. So it's but it's not too bad. I think ours is overloaded. I think in Boonville, like just that area, because I've heard a lot of people that have internet and they move from this house to this house and they're like, oh, you can't get internet now. I'm like, but I already had it. Like, well, yeah, but you moved and you took yourself off the network and now we can't put you back on the network. And it's,
So, oh, wow.
I'm like, okay.
Clarksville is making a ton of improvements to their network, come to find out. But it's a big, like, 4-year project or something before they're getting rural. Why I asked that is you mentioned you had kids. Are they going back to school? Are they doing online option?
We're still trying to figure it out. We don't really know. I mean,
that internet access is big on anybody considering an online option.
For sure. Yeah. That's like whenever they kicked us out of school in March or whatever, when I was in college, because I've been in college since 2008. I went back to college in 2018.
Oh, you're going now?
Yeah.
What are you studying?
Right now I'm trying to get my bachelor's degree so that I can go to PA school, become a physician's assistant.
What are you going to do with a PA assistant? I'm just joking.
Yeah, I'm going to treat some of these people, get some of these people. Yeah. But so that was a big deal for me whenever we went out of school. I'm like, oh man, I hope my internet's strong enough for me to do all these classes. Because I was doing organic. No, what's I doing? Yeah, I did organic chemistry this semester. And I'm like, dude, I need internet. Like I need these lecture videos. I can't fake my way through this.
For real. That's so important. And at our college, that's guiding a lot of the policy. It's like we pull from a lot of rural areas. We're one of the cheapest community colleges in the whole state, but a good community college. And we draw from all of these rural areas that have shit internet access.
That's a big problem.
And we're just like, well, we saw these problems. I mean, even Russellville was talking about them at the school board meeting. That's why that guy said those things. It's because like rural area kids or just lower income. And then too, like think about all the immunocompromised kids, special ed kids. Like there's an immunocompromised little girl that died in Oklahoma last week, 13 years old.
That's crazy. So like I'm like, oh, like these are all things. And I talked to my doctor yesterday and she was like, my best friend just got out of ICU and she refused to be intubated. Like they were going to do it and she made it. And I was like, was she obese or like, you know, did she have respiratory problems before that? Yeah, she's like, no, she exercised every day. She was a picture of health. She's 38 years old, but she's like, one trend we are seeing right now is she's like, people in their 40s are getting hit hard for whatever reason. We were talking about, I was looking this stuff up the other day just because I'm bored, nothing else to do. And the closest comparison that I can find is like the 1918 flu outbreak or whatever. And it was the same way. It was like kids under 5 and like people in like the 30 to 40 year old range. And there was no vaccines and there was no nothing. And I mean, it was just, it took, I want to say it was like almost 18 or 19 months before it kind of leveled itself out. There were, I think, 3 or 4 waves. But, you know, there's a guy on the podcast, and I've mentioned this a few times, but it's important. Yeah. He's a historian at Ohio State University. His name's Mitch Lerner, and he was talking about during the 1918 flu, and he's written multiple articles on like Washington Post and stuff since the shutdown. But there were these anti-mask leagues that sprang up all over. Like we're seeing it right now. Yeah, it's the same. It's like a repeating history. But that's one of his things that I see him doing repeatedly. He's like, some people say this, but if you look at history, I mean, just like the stereotypical sort of historian's job, but he's like, he makes the most logical arguments looking back to his like, and he's not really like, he's really just sort of dispelling the fact that, this is unprecedented, eh? The politicization of mask wearing is unprecedented. Yeah. So, yeah, that's how I am too. Like a lot of people, I've been seeing people talk about the swine flu. Like, we had this many people infected with swine flu. We didn't shut down school. I'm like, yeah, it's because swine flu killed 12,000 people total in the whole time it was a thing. We're at 140,000 plus and we're still in the middle of it now.
And people want to say, and like maybe in some cases, but like, because I did see for a spurt of like maybe a couple weeks in like April or something, people say that cases, people were they were COVID positive, but they didn't die from COVID, but they were going into the death count. And I'm like, well, there's still a case. I get that they had a car wreck, but they were asymptomatic. They got counted as a COVID death. I don't even know if that's true.
Yeah, I don't know how
but tons of people have said that. I've seen that a lot.
I saw someone posted the other day about, like, it was a nurse, I don't know, maybe from Texas or Oklahoma or somewhere, but she was talking about this big uptick we've had in cases, and she was talking about how, well, a month and a half ago, it was like you had to break an arm to get someone tested for corona. Like, we had people that we were like 90% sure they had it, but they didn't meet this criteria, so they weren't even testing them.
That. Yeah.
And now anyone that walks through the ER with a sore throat gets a corona test. So obviously we're going to have higher numbers. You're testing 10 times as many people, so clearly you're going to have more positive cases. But it's just one of those deals. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Like, when you're asymptomatic and now you know you're positive, well, if you follow the quarantine rules, then theoretically it's a good thing, because now you know that you're positive and you're not infecting anyone else, as opposed to a month ago when you had no clue and you were just going about your life as a normal person. But
that's what, like I mentioned, we had this lady here whose husband tested positive. She got, I want to say, multiple tests. Never had it, quarantined when she thought she had. But it's like, man, living in the same house. And I wonder if it's like, I'm going to turn this off. I keep getting buzzed in here. I wonder if it is people with like certain blood types. I was talking to my doctor about that yesterday. She said she's type O, Cora's type O. But that is one thing trend-wise I've seen, is that people with type O blood a lot are not getting hit with symptoms.
See, I have type O blood, and I've been in a hospital with coronavirus since March, and I've had no symptoms, no nothing. So could be something. And
then too, like so there's this guy comes in. Okay, actually, this is relevant to our earlier talk. There's a guy that comes in right now to train. He's going to be in tonight. His name is Dr. Shang. He's Chinese. He grew up in the Philippines, went to med school there, moved from there to Kentucky. Was a doctor there in Kentucky, I think Louisville, for several years. And then now he lives in Clarksville, and he works around the state, but mostly does orthopedic surgery in Clarksville. And this dude is a martial arts master.
Wow.
Right? He comes in, but I have 2 Wing Chun dummies in here. I don't know if you saw them.
I saw them, yeah.
Right? Caleb's dad carved me one, and then one of my students just gave me the other one. It's like a cheaper one, but he knows 3 styles. And I don't even know, but he's worked repeatedly with me this Ip Man Kata, where it's like 114 moves or something like that. It's like 11 sections, and he's like, and we'll do it, and he's like, this is how it's done in the Southern style. I'm like, what?
What is that?
And he's like, well, these students at Ip Man, these other, they did it this way. It's interesting. But he's a 6th-degree judo black belt. He's a 3rd-degree Aikido black belt. I don't know if he holds rank in Taekwondo. I haven't asked him. But one time he did the first 10 Taekwondo katas with empty hand, and then with 2 swords, 2 kendo, 2 bokens. But he knows Aikido. He knows kendo. He's studied in temples in Hawaii. Like, this dude is something else.
Man of the world.
Yeah, but we talk about coronavirus every Thursday.
Yeah.
He comes in and he's just like, he didn't trash me. He's actually super gentle, but we'll train together for like an hour. And then as soon as we're done, we wear masks. As soon as we're done, he starts socially distancing from me. He's
backing
like,
away.
6 feet away, and he's like, you see this? This is a part of the training too. Like, I'm like, all right. But honestly, being around him, and this is like why I said like altruistic things, like, Roland was like, that's his name, Roland. He's like, hey, do you want to train tonight? And I was like, yes, because we were closed.
Yeah.
And he and I trained, just me and him, no other classes going on or nothing. And he's like, I'll come down there, but would you mind wearing a mask? And I was like, no, not at all. Please come. I love it when you come down. I just texted him 2 days ago, and I was like, dude, thank you for everything you're teaching me. Like, I'm so inspired by like getting to work with you. Like he's just a master. I mean, like, in everything he's acquired, he's trained with the Fongs. right?
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. So he's chased all this knowledge we're talking about.
Yeah.
Shows me sends me videos and links, and the coolest 72-year-old dude you're going to meet, maybe.
I feel that way with Rodney. I feel like Rodney's been one of those guys that's been around and trained with everybody here and there and knows so much. It's the same type of deal, though. It's just,
I wonder if Rodney would be down to come on or zoom in or whatever on the podcast.
He for sure would. He's all about it, man.
Anytime I've ever been around him, like no shortage of conversation. I'm always drawn to like go talk to him if I see him.
Him and Zane, man. Zane's a character too.
Yeah, I've been around Zane a couple of times at that Sean Shirk seminar and one other place, maybe the winter camp. He had crazy sideburns. Yep. Do you still have those?
Yep, it's a bit full beard, no hair on his head, but he's got that full beard going.
So is he at Foster's too?
No, he's got his own gym in Van Buren now. Actually, he's
the same spot we were talking about a minute ago.
No, he's got his own completely, all him. He's Zane Isaacs Championship MMA in. Okay. He got in with Don Paul Bales, and he's on their curriculum and on their whole wavelength now.
Yeah,
doing his own thing.
How is Foster's gym set? Like, where you train now? Like, how's that set up? Like, what's it like training there and everything?
It's so much fun. It's fun for me because I remember being the young, gung-ho kid that just went in there and went like crazy all the time, and now I'm the old guy in the gym, so it's pretty cool. It's fun for me because I'll go, I may go 2 or 3 months without training, just for whatever reason, and then I'll show up and I got all these brand new guys that never seen me before, and I tell you it's the funniest thing in the world. Just I have so many people try to slow roll me coming in because they're like, "Oh, what's up?" And I'm like, "Hey, what's it's going to be like new? You want to roll some?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure. If you want to roll, we can roll." And they'll be like, "So have you trained before?" I'm like, "Yeah, for like 10 years, man." And they're like, "Oh, okay, I got you, okay." But yeah, so it's a blast. We have a ton of super talented young kids over there right now, and then we got Foster. We got Kyron Bowen, who's blowing up right now. He's all over the place. I think he's doing the Contender Series soon. Mm-hmm. And then we got DC's in Bellator right now, Daniel Carey. So and then Foster's about to fight in August. He's trying to get himself back into the UFC Bellator picture. So there's a lot of big things going on over there. It's a super cool deal. We got a pretty nice setup, big boxing ring in the middle, and then we have full open mat section to the left of the boxing ring where most of the MMA, kickboxing stuff, and then we have another set of mats to the right where all the jiu-jitsu type stuff happens.
You guys do gi and no gi both?
Yep.
You train very much in the gi?
I don't know. I've probably trained in the gi maybe 5 or 6 times in my life.
I really I know there's arguments for and against. I've done both the whole time, and if you're going to do MMA, I do not, other than it just giving you extra time. Mm-hmm. I would just and I've seen gyms do this, but I've told my guys in the past, just don't wear your gi to gi class.
Yeah. I've seen people do it. The whole time I was fighting MMA, I was kind of like you. I was like, I don't really see a point in me learning to use grips and handles because I can't use them in a fight. So I never did. And then since I've been, like I said, I don't really fight that much anymore. I fight, kind of periodically. But now this Foster gym is the first gym I've ever trained at where we had a for real gi instructor that would teach us gi jiu-jitsu. Like everywhere else, it's always been MMA, no gi, non-classical grappling, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So I try to get in and do classes every can, but it's hard. Scheduling is tough for me right now.
And that back on the 10th planet stuff, that is what I've always loved. And I meant to say this earlier, but Eddie's connection to John Jock, as soon as I learned about that, I was like, respect.
Yes,
right. I was immediately then when I learned that, it blew my mind because I've known about Eddie for a few years and I just not picked up on that detail.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, damn, John Jock is then I was like, why are people giving Eddie Bravo shit?
That's what I said to you, man. I didn't understand it. That he had that tie in, but that's where a lot of his inspiration for this, the underhook, overhook, all that stuff came from. Because John Jock, no, exactly, no grips for him, no gi grips going on. So
that Brandon McCaffrey, when he was on, his name's spelled like McCagrin. Oh. But Brandon, he's like, it's McCaffrey. And when he was on the podcast, he was talking about John Jock coming in for this seminar and this crazy time where their town had flooded and there's no power. And he's talking about John Jock feeding his kid with an airplane and stuff. It's hilarious John Jock stories on the podcast. I need to go find that and get a couple of clips out.
Yeah.
But he talks about training with John Jock and stuff, and I'm just like, man, John Jock, I was at when Hickson got promoted to red belt. He never wears it. Yeah. But Corey and I were at that seminar, and John Jock comes busting in, and Bobby Osantos, Horian Gracie, Hoyler, Pedro Sauer. Hickson was actually using me to demo the technique when they all bust in, and I'm like,
oh, what's happening?
I'm like laying in the floor, and Hickson's like trying to show this drill, and I'm like sweating bullets. Like, dude, Hickson Gracie is like using me right now, guys.
Mount Rushmore Jiu-Jitsu just walked through the door,
and then I was just like, oh my god, it's But man, training with Hickson was, I will say, like one of the most enlightening experiences I've been through training martial arts.
I can't even imagine.
He never even he showed one grip. You see where you're bunched up right there?
Yeah.
He put his hand on somebody, and they pushed into him, and he just kept his hand there. They went to go away, and he went like that.
That's it.
That is the only grip he showed the whole time. But everything was very much here.
Yeah.
But man, he's that MMA background so much. Mm-hmm. I appreciated that. Like, that's one thing I've remarked on several times. Like, man, he showed one grip.
Yeah.
That's because I hate, man, like I tell people all the time, like my pinkies.
Oh, yeah.
Like right there. This one's not so bad anymore. All my fingers were like that on both sides of the joints.
Yeah.
I'm starting to get that way from playing like spider guards and shit and competing. I let go of all of that.
Yeah.
Like literally, like I'm like, oh, you want your grip back? Okay.
Take it.
like, oh, no, I want to play spider guard more than I want my finger joints.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I need arthritis for the rest of my life.
Spider guard's fucking weird. I like it, but like if you try and get away, it will rip your hands apart.
Yeah, I can imagine. That's why I never got. That's another reason I never got super big into the gi, because I was the same way. Like someone would twist my hand up in their gi, and I'm like, well, no, I don't like that. Never. Yeah, I'll pass.
I knew a guy. He owned a. Like he trained with the guy out of Tulsa that passed away, JKD guy, Terry Gibson.
Terry Gibson, yeah.
Right? Sean King was his name, right? But he was trained, also there's another guy out of New York named Danny Anderson. Do you know who that is?
He's a full instructor
under Nisano. He trained at Danny's. Danny's actually from Clarksville, Arkansas, and owns, like, trains Mia Jovovich in New York City.
Yeah.
Right? But... Anyway, I don't even remember where I was going with that. Danny Anderson, what was I talking?
Losing fingers.
Oh, yeah, Sean King got his pinky caught up in somebody's gi like that, and it tore it sideways. And it was, his middle finger joint was huge, and his pinky was literally like bent over like
pointing over there.
Yeah, and I don't know if he'd ever had surgery on it. I knew a friend that happened to him in football, and he did have surgery on it, and his pinky's fucked to this day. Just huge in the middle. Can't bend it all the way.
Yeah, it doesn't close.
Oof.
I know a guy that trained JKD with us that got I think it's his pointer finger. Got his pointer finger ripped off at work. So now he only has 3 knuckles. And I remember him trying to relearn how to punch and hit straight leads and stuff with it, with only having the 3 knuckles.
Yeah, that's rough.
He lost a finger at work.
Oof.
Yeah.
Yeah, where I had the place where my dad worked for like 25 years, they had a steel saw. And I wasn't there. I worked there in the summers and stuff when I was 16 on. But there, he had a guy, he still goes on with this dude to this day, named John Carlton, and he got one of his fingers cut off. Oh. This happened when I was a kid, but I remember when it happened. And like I remember every time I would go back and be around that saw, I would think about that dude getting his finger cut off at work.
Yeah, I have a scar where I didn't almost lose a finger or anything, but we were hanging sheet metal, like underpinning a trailer. And we're trying to get it under this trailer, and it won't go. And this guy that I'm working with kicks it, and as soon as he does, it just smashes my finger in there. And I'm like, that's all I could think of. I was like, I don't have a thumb. My thumb is gone. There's no thumb left. It's completely gone.
Dude, I did that on this finger opening a can. I was making stew, and I was opening cans of vegetables, and it just cut myself somehow. Crazy. I'll tell you a similar thing that happened one time. My office at the last gym, we built this big window. Right? And we ordered a piece of glass to put in, and we didn't have suction cups.
Oh, you're holding it by a palm.
Yeah. And I got up, I don't even remember, but man, it went down and smashed my finger and fingernail. Boy, it hurt, man. And it just smashed my fingernail. It didn't even fall off. Yeah. Right? But damn, I'm never going to forget that smash and like how heavy and precise that glass was on my finger. Whew. Yeah. Crazy, dude.
It's crazy, the little bitty stuff like that you think of. Like, you're like, oh, I've been kicked in the face and I've been this, and it wasn't that bad, but I got my finger smashed once, and hell no, I don't want that no more.
You ever draw blood or anything in your profession, or no? You just do x-rays?
Oh yeah, I do lab. I work in a lab. And
shit, dude, I was a gigantic pussy yesterday. I was just like, because I went in for a wellness check and I wanted to get my blood work checked, and I get there and they're like, so what are we doing today? And I was just like, well, here's my medical history. I want to come in every year and get checked out. But dude, I fucking hate needles. Like, how about this? How about you choke me unconscious and then take my blood?
Yeah, to draw my blood before I wake up.
Like, I'm down to get choked. I was like punched in the face. I got 2 black belts. I was like, but you're freaking me out right now, lady. Like, you're trying to.
With that.
But I asked her, like, afterwards, I kind of was like, how am I going to get over this? I'm like 33 years old. It's not like I pass out, but I was like, did this ever bother you, taking somebody's blood? And she was like, I used to be as scared to get my blood taken as you are. Yeah. And she's like, and then I went through school and I didn't just get my grade for drawing your blood. I got my grade for getting my blood drawn. Yeah. So she's like, that was it. I had to get my blood drawn or I would fail. Yeah. And I was like, well, that's, I guess, how the theory behind how we learn a lot of things. Yeah. Right? Or how we get over
See one,
a lot
do
of
one,
things.
teach one kind of thing. Yeah. Yeah, that's when we were in x-ray school. We practiced on each other.
Yeah. I was joking around with Corey this morning. I was like, oh. Yeah. Oh. But man, I'm not like, I'm not super squeamish about blood. Like if there's a cut in the gym or anything, like it doesn't freak me out. I can clean you up. I can put Vaseline in it, whatever we need to do. Like I've had some weird things over the years happen in the gym, dislocated toes. And I was telling a story about somebody front kicking somebody like snap style and hitting their elbow and it dislocating one of their little toes. And I was just like, right, just toes, weird stuff that happens.
Toes always get me. I hate my feet getting hurt. It drives me nuts.
Yeah, the other day somebody took me down and we were drilling. I was having them show it on me and they did something else that we weren't doing. And I fell and I like rolled over my toes and it hurt so bad for several days. But
I have such a bad ankle. I have this one ankle that I don't know. I don't know if it's just from years of stuff, but it's ruined. I can't do anything with it. I have like the weakest ankle. I roll it all the time.
Got two bad ankles. I mean, putting her in a heel hook, like if you pull it through and drop it in, just the act of pulling it through, she'll tap to that. Yeah. Because of the ankle joint, not because of the knee.
That's crazy. Yeah, I'm the same way. I got one really bad ankle, and the first time I ever heard it was shadowboxing by myself, doing nothing else. I went to hit a pivot, and my foot got like caught in between the cracks of the mat. And so I landed like full weight on my ankle sideways.
You rolled it.
That was it.
Oh, man.
From that point on, every time I do anything, it seems like it gets messed up.
Yeah, that's, dude, the flukiest little thing.
I know, it's so dumb.
I'll tell you, man, I woke up this morning, I sneezed 4 times for whatever. I was like, this is weird. I'm sneezing. But the last 2 times I got like nerve pain between my shoulders. Like, it hurt bad, but I was like, man, I don't want to sneeze anymore today.
Yeah, I'm done.
It was kind of irregular. I just woke up and I hadn't moved around a lot. And I've been having a little nerve pain in my shoulders because I just saw the chiropractor actually, and I kind of experienced it after I see him for like a week, and man, it bit me though. But it's funny stuff like that like the life of a martial artist.
Yeah, that's right. Waking up, creaking and popping and snapping.
Yeah. Dude, I'll say one thing. Do you fight southpaw or ortho?
Southpaw.
All right.
Always.
So check this out. I am left-handed, but I fight ortho. So we're the same.
The same one? Same.
I subscribe to that. I don't push it on people. Yeah. Actually, what I tell people is I'm like, which way feels better?
Yeah, that's usually how I am too.
Yeah. Because I switched. I did my first 2 fights. I was southpaw, and honestly, when I switched to ortho, and I don't know if it's just because more people teach that way, it felt more economical to me. Yeah, there was a better economy of motion. Yeah. Right. So that was a noted difference. But one thing that used to happen to me all the time was the rear leg kick going knee to knee.
Oh yeah, it's a rough one. Shin on shin.
Yeah, man, I remember one time going knee to knee with somebody. We were just sparring kind of light, and it like my knee like wrapped around,
bend around.
And it hurt. I remember like 4 months later kneeling down to get something on the bottom shelf at Walmart, and like my leg wouldn't bend all the way. Like the knee was still inflamed.
Still not working right.
Yeah.
My deal that I always tell people is like, for me, especially when I started fighting, I was a grappler. My striking was not good. It's not terrible. I literally took my first fight after about like 2 weeks maybe of training, maybe that long. And so I always tell people, like, this is my strongest, fastest, most accurate weapon right here. So I want this as close to your face as I can possibly get it. That's why I fight southpaw.
Okay,
so that's my deal.
That's another thing. It's like I've after 20 years almost of playing guitar, I now take lessons.
Mm-hmm.
I've hired somebody to teach me. But I look at the guitar the same way.
Yeah.
Like, okay, so right-handed guitar player plays this way.
Yeah.
You know, is this the hard shit with the guitar? Or is this?
Yeah, getting this motion. Yeah.
And it blows my mind when I see somebody left-handed play this way. I'm like, I can't do shit with my right hand like that. Like, that's about it.
Can't even make it work.
Oh man, I've tried to pick up a left-handed guitar and make chord. I can't even do it. Like air chords, I'm like G. All right.
Yeah, back and forth. You're like, wait a minute, time out. Let me. Yeah.
But the stuff like that, I eat and write with my left hand, and I mean, do all the hard shit on the guitar, and then jabs and hooks and lead uppercuts.
Yeah.
Right? It's back fist maybe.
Yeah.
You know, Willie, you did train with Willie McLaughlin, right? You ever do this something? He'd call it the double bit slam. He'd go jab, cross, hook. Wow.
Yeah.
And come back with the back fist. Dude, that dude back fisted me more on the ground when I was in his guard. He'd be like laying back over here. Boom.
Yeah.
But man, that's like, I loved hanging out with Willie. He was always so unorthodox.
Willie is one of just his personality, even if there was no martial arts training at all, his personality he's so fun to be around. He's just so much fun.
He was on the podcast a while back. And
I watched that. Yeah. I watched that one actually.
It got a great feedback.
To me, the first time I ever went to Brada, it was me, Wade, Chitwood was there. Bryce was there. I mean, just, those were the big guys. And then there's, other class around, and I'm pretty sure it was Eli. I don't think it was Rudy. I think it was Eli was there. And the funniest thing to me the whole night, we're getting ready to leave. Everything, like, the lights are all shut off. And he's like, Eli, let's go. And Eli's kind of texting on his phone, whatever. And he's like, Eli. And he's like, oh, sorry. I'm trying to get, talking to this. I can't remember how he said it. He's like, oh, I'm trying to get some or something like that. And Willie goes, oh yeah, what's his name? And as soon as he said it, me and Bryce and Wade all start dying and laughing, and it's just like little stuff like that he does all the time.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, he can't turn it off. It's hilarious.
We would always go to T-Bell after fight training, and that would just be the funniest shit. Like
watching all these videos, like the UFC live videos of Bryce and Willie dancing and doing all that. It's so funny.
Did you see the one where he's like, you never know what Willie's gonna say, but he's like living with Bryce, and they're like, it's like, I think the night before weigh-ins, but he's like, so you ever seen like when two dogs are doing it, and then the one dog, he can't get is swollen, he can't get it out, so they invert, and then their butts are stuck together. He's like, how are you gonna get them unstuck? And Bryce is like, I'm gonna melt some butter. Like that, like the stuff they're saying. I'm just like, oh my god,
those two, man, I swear they're hilarious together.
Yeah, man, Willie is something else. That dude has taught me so much.
Oh yeah,
I can't tell. There's almost not a day goes by I don't do something out there that I imported from. It was this weird time where, like, when he was in Cabot, when he first moved to Searcy, to where that gym he got from Max Bishop, to where I just trained with him more than Caleb and Inferno, more than Dring. Like, he was the closest guy.
Yeah,
and I just got to spend a lot of time with him and with Wade and shit. I remember one day training with Wade, and he had my arm trapped, like in between his legs, and he was like pounding me, right? And I got my arm out using some technique Willie had taught me.
Yeah.
And I remember it being so like, Wade just beat my fucking ass.
Yeah.
Like, it was so demoralizing. And after, he was like, dude, good job. Like, nobody ever gets out of that arm thing. And I was like, thanks, man.
Yeah. Thanks a lot.
Yeah. But dude, at that same day I'm talking about, Josh Hudson and Dave Burrow were in there. That was just like, around that time was a great hub for people to come together.
Now I think like West Side's like that now.
Yeah.
Now it's everybody's moving and going in and out of West Side, and it's great, man. Yeah. Same deal, Rolly and Matt, same deal. Both, like, even without the martial arts knowledge, they're just two cool people to hang out with, and just
I would like to have them. I'm gonna hit them up to come on the podcast eventually. I felt like I overburdened my audience with jiu-jitsu and MMA episodes, so I broke off and did a few like non-jiu-jitsu, but now I'm just like, I got to get some of these people on my list. Brian Foster's on the list.
Oh yeah, Foster will do it for sure. He's a nut, man. He cracks me up.
You know, I've just been around him a couple of times, but I will say, like, the dude's kind of intimidating. Does he come off that way? Like, I mean,
to me, it's funny to me now because knowing him as long as I have, people are like, man, he's kind of an asshole. And
I wouldn't
not
say
really.
that. I did see him get upset in an AGF one time.
Oh, he gets upset a lot.
I get upset at AGF, so I was like, maybe he's not that bad. You know, like I do. Like, dude, if you screw one of my guys on the points,
Brian is Brian's one of those people. He's been around the sport for so long, and he's been literally to the highest level of the sport in so many different aspects that when people try to shortchange it or try to cut corners and do stuff, he loses it. He's like, this is not how it's supposed to be. It's not how we're doing it. This is, he's just one of those guys. And
that's back to the disease, man. Yeah. Like when you are truly passionate about something, it's hard for me to not come out that way when it's like, oh yeah, I've invested my whole life in this, and you're just gonna shit on it.
Yeah, that's exactly that's where Brian comes from, and he tries to, people are like, oh, we're gonna do it this way, and he's like, you're trying to tell me that you know more about this than I do? Like, you're trying to tell me you know more about fighting than I do? Like, let's let's not even play this game, So it's just very stuff. His thing now is commissioners. He gets into it with commission people all the time, and it cracks me up.
Yeah, I wonder, how's the commission right now? Do you have any idea?
We did a show in Oklahoma. When was it? It was Poto. We did Poto not that long ago, maybe a month ago, and we got another one August 15th in Poto. And I mean, it's about like normal. It's not been too crazy. Yeah, but Oklahoma has different rules than Arkansas does, so I don't know.
You can knee in the face an amateur.
That's true, yeah.
That's great.
That's right.
Except last time I took an amateur kickboxer there, he got kneed in the face, and I was like, fuck.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it was.
I don't like this.
It kind of obliterated his soul a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's good, though, because I think it's crazy that in Arkansas you can't, do the elbows and the knees, and then you turn pro, and you're like, surprise, guess what? Now you're getting kneed and elbowed in the face, and you've never done it before, but...
Yeah.
I think it's good for some of them. I think I could see how you would have your first few in Arkansas where you can't knee your elbows and then go over to Oklahoma and try it out for a few.
That's what we used to really do. I had a guy, do you remember a dude fought over there named Bogey Blunt?
Bogey Blunt? No, I don't know.
What a fucking weird name.
That is a crazy name.
Yeah, Bogey Blunt. I had a guy fight him twice. One time it was supposed to be a title fight. My guy's like 7-0 or 9-0 or something. And he fought Bogey, and Bogey didn't make weight or something weird, and they made it a non-title fight.
That's weird.
So we were like, whatever, and they fought to a draw.
Oh, God.
And it was one of those fights that Apollo used to have in the ring.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Speaking of choke, I remember Apollo giving me a hug at that show because, they really put on an amazing fight. Yeah. And I was like, fuck, man, Apollo could just give me a hug. Yeah, wow, he said thank you to me for coming to his show. Like, he smelled great. I couldn't believe it. It was a nostalgic moment, but it was definitely cool being around him, seeing choke that many times. But we went back again and fought him and lost a split decision. And it was just a frustrating deal. But in that fight, kind of like John Jones did to Matt Hamill.
Oh, yeah.
My guy got slammed on his shoulder.
Oh, yeah.
And it dislocated his AC joint.
Oof. That's a terrible injury. Yeah, that's terrible.
Willie was right there when it was at Drings, the seminar I got my jiu-jitsu blue belt. It was the morning after. I got it Friday night. We're training a judo seminar with Jonathan Border, 9 a.m. Like right out the gate, we're doing hip throw drills, and somebody throws me onto my shoulder. I broke the AC joint. I crawl off, and I'm writhing in pain, and Willie's like sitting there. He's like, you all right, mate?
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh, it hurts. Yeah. Oh. But, dude, they put me in a sling, and I remember driving back in so much pain.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
I actually fought with a fracture in my humeral head. Same deal. Someone tried to judo toss me, and I tried to block it, but he had my wrist, so I blocked it. But now we're just falling. There's just nothing to stop us. And
yeah,
it was literally the week of a fight.
We watched this on the podcast a while back, but you know who Eric Ingram is from Memphis? Mm-hmm. He around the same time, he was actually at that seminar recovering from this. He was getting thrown like with a Makakome type throw, which they go down first and you don't really see that you're about to fall underneath him to the very end. And he put his hand down and dislocated his elbow. That's happened to one of my guys in a fight. Yeah.
Ooh, that's rough.
Yeah. Mitch Hall used to own a gym in Cabot, and this guy, he's a redheaded dude. They wore like bandanas over their face. It's actually the most unsportsmanlike fight I've ever been a part of.
Yeah.
That's neither here nor there. But same situation. My guy got thrown, boom, and then he breaks his elbow, and then is getting like ground and pounded from like a head arm type position, and then it gets called. But my guy's just sitting there like his arm is dislocated.
Yeah, and
he gets up and it's like bent backwards, and I was just like, oh my God,
like, what happens? What do we do here?
A similar incident. Evelyn, this girl, she trains here last night. She posted her she didn't. She took a girl down, and the girl like had her like head wrapped, and Evan like dropped in for a double and got her posture back, and that girl went off the head wrap.
Oh, and did that behind her,
and she might have still. I can't remember if it was the one. I think it was. She came off the head. But dude, talk about a blood curdling scream. She compound fractured her arm. Ugh. And she like held it up, and it was just the bone is sticking out, and it's like blood's running down her arm. But I joke with Evan about it all the time. I'm like, I'm never gonna forget that scream. That's like what a blood curdling scream. I know what that is now.
Yeah, you hear those, man. Especially working in the hospital. You come in the hospital, you hear a few of those.
And he seemed like a totally well balanced guy, but I think about this for law enforcement a lot. Like, do you see shit that kind of fucks with you a little bit on your job?
Sometimes. It's pretty rare.
That's good. That is, I mean, because, like, who likes going to a hospital for, like, because usually, like, when I'm going to hospital, I'm there, it's like, okay, this is not good. Somebody's here I love that's not doing well. I'm sure it's a little different than that for you. Yeah, I know you go in and that's going on every day, but
I try to always treat people like, the way I look at it is I'm probably dealing with this person on the worst day of their life. Like whenever I go to see someone, like for me, I'm like, okay, this is not a big deal, but to them, this is, a real serious deal. Otherwise they wouldn't be here. So I try to always approach it with that, that mentality. Like, even though I think this is, nothing major, this is probably a major event for their life. Because you kind of get numb to it after a while. If you do it for so long, it's,
That is kind of the thing with cops too that I've talked to, is like, look, you see people on the worst day of their life, right? Like 100%, like and they may be a great person, right? Like, and you just see them on a bad day. Same thing for, like, I know that it's got to be hard right now, like you're saying, with family members and just on normal, okay, this person's in the hospital, but they can't have visitors, even though they don't have COVID.
Yep.
St. Mary's, our local hospital, just kind of reverted back to that.
Yep. That's how it's been for a lot of us, is that no visitors at all, no matter what. Because, I mean, and people don't understand. People are crazy. We had some people come in the other day. They wanted to come pray for somebody. I'm like, do you guys not understand?
Can you pray from the
they don't know this person. They just heard through Facebook or wherever that this person was in a car. I think they were in maybe a four-wheeler accident or a car accident or something. And
that's a great thing about prayer, man. You could do it from across the globe.
We're here. We want to pray over him, and we're like, do you guys not know what's going on in the world right now? Like, no, I'm sorry. You cannot come in here to this stranger's room and pray over him.
Today, actually, I had a guy on the podcast, a cult member for 5 years.
Oh, wow.
Like this, okay, so Seventh-day Adventist, like, there's a splinter group off of them that became like the Waco group.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So have you seen that show yet?
No, I've never seen Waco.
On Netflix, it's wild.
Like a Jim Jones kind of thing.
Yeah, right. But the ATF like killed a bunch of their members, and it's a kind of fucked up story. But equally weird of a story as their beliefs. Anyway, well then, so like you had Seventh-day Adventists, and this thing splintered, evolved out of that, called like Worldwide Church, and they like celebrate the Sabbath on Saturday and stuff. Well, off this Worldwide, there's a splinter group off of that called RCG. And he basically moved to Ohio, lived at their compound for 5 years, and like talked all about his crazy podcast.
That's wild. Let's check that out. That'd be crazy to hear.
The guy's name's Brock Boozer. Like,
I think I saw his name on the list.
Yeah, I think it's scheduled to come out today. So yeah,
that'd be crazy. Yeah, I've seen. I don't know, man. There's some crazy stuff. You see some wild stuff out there. There's for a long time, I don't know if it's still there, but there was like a crazy baby making ring in close to the hospital I worked at, where they had these girls that they were getting pregnant, and then as soon as they were having the babies, they were putting the babies up for adoption and collecting adoption fees, and then turn around and getting the same girls pregnant again, and they were just going through this cycle. It's pretty wild.
Were the people making the babies compliant in any way, or was that like
they don't speak English? They were all like some kind of islanders. I can't remember, but there was like one person in the whole group that spoke English, and then everybody else couldn't communicate. And I'm talking, we're getting people from like Salt Lake City, LA, Portland, like crazy places. And we're like, how did you find out about this baby? Oh, we just heard about it. That's it. Nothing else. Wouldn't give any explanation. Wouldn't give any stories. Nothing. So it was crazy. It was wild. We went through that for a while. It's been a couple years ago, so I don't know if it's been shut down since then. But it was a wild deal.
What do you think about this concept? Mail order brides.
There's no way. Males are too easy to get a hold of. we're too easy to sucker in. There's not enough demand for us out there.
Yeah. Well, like, okay, so like when this came up with a guy, I'm not gonna say names, but he used to work where I work, and he basically married this person online, but like moved her here, like she didn't speak any English, like that sort of situation. Like he ordered a wife through the mail.
Yeah,
like
mail order bride full situation.
I can't believe that that's a thing. Like, because she didn't, and then too, she like moved in with like her mother-in-law or something, and then I can't even remember the whole story, but I want to say they ended up splitting up and got somebody like.
Yeah,
but it's like that person moved to the country.
That's the thing for like them over there. Like, from what I understand, I don't know. Obviously, I don't know the whole situation, but for them, a lot of them, it's about just getting here, just getting to this country, and they try to bring their whatever brother, sister, mom, father with them, and then even if they get here and this thing doesn't work out, now they're at least in this country, and
Yeah. The border situation's wild.
It is pretty crazy.
Like I know a journalist. He's been on podcast twice. That's down there. His wife works in Corpus Christi.
Yeah.
And he teaches here, but he's down there all the time.
Yeah.
And like he'll end up writing a book, but the stories he says about the coyotes and the money and the guns and the
smuggling and all that stuff. Yeah, I can't even. I know a guy right now that's working in Brownsville, which is like 3 miles from the Mexican border, but he's down there working in hospitals, and so I always tell him, I'm like, hey man, you watch it while you're down there.
Yeah, it's a crazy dynamic down there, and like with how everybody is just getting funneled into this bottleneck of processing. Like that's kind of as I understand, a policy change, which may have even, I can't remember the specifics. Trump amended a little bit, but it's actually an Obama era policy. But it was more of like a wider funnel, and it just bottlenecked these people into processing to where there's hundreds of thousands of cases that need to be heard, and there's not enough people or time to hear them. Yeah,
that's kind of how a lot of the stuff in our system gets bogged down to a point where this set number of people have to hear it in order to either approve or deny it, and they've got so much on their plate that.
One thing that blew my mind is everybody he was not everybody, but everybody he told me about, he talked to at the border on the podcast, he was like, this person was coming over from, let's see, what he was talking about, like different European countries, the Middle East. Like, it wasn't like, oh yeah, they came from some South American country. It was they came from some other country to some South American country that would give them like a 1 week window to travel to the border, and then they would try and get to the border to get in for the processing, but people were coming from all over the world into South America or Central America rather, both, to get to the border. And I never knew it was that was going on as much as it was.
There's a lot of people coming from just anywhere they could to get to Mexico or wherever down there, and then try to make their way north. I've heard a lot of crazy stories about stuff like that. I've heard people come from Canada. Same deal with Canada.
Yeah. I want to say somebody did. He did say it was from Canada. Some an Southeast Asian country was one particular story, and just like the stories of the people that they're fleeing horrible shit. And coming over. So, man,
that's like the Cuban thing. Like, people like, how could you imagine getting on a raft and trying to float to America? Like, well, if you lived in Cuba, you could imagine it pretty easily. Like, for them, it's like, whatever, I'll take my chances. Like,
wild stories like the Cuban refugee crisis in Arkansas. It got wild.
Well, the Japanese, when they relocated all the Japanese people to Arkansas, I was reading about that not that long ago.
Executive Order 9066.
That stuff's wild. They were at Fort Chaffee, right?
Yeah. Well, the Cuban refugees were at Fort Chaffee.
Was that what it was?
Right?
Yeah. Okay.
But let's see. Jerome and Rower.
Yeah, let's say that's what it was. There was two.
You know what they made them do? Fucking pick cotton, dude. Isn't that fucked up?
That's crazy. Back to slavery days.
Like quite literally, like surrounded in a fence, guard towers. They pick cotton during the day, and dude, it's super sad. I show these videos of George Takei talking about it, and he talks about how he was I can't remember if he was second or third generation. I think his father had moved from Japan. But what's fucked up is you could be a third generation Japanese, meaning your grandparents migrated, had your parents, and then they had you. You're still going.
Yeah. Doesn't matter how long you've been here.
Yeah. So third generation Japanese Americans were, but he talked about how people would form outside of the houses like a little mob and to basically loot their house after they got shipped off in the bus.
That's crazy.
So he said his dad put all of his books and some other things in a storage building. And when they got out, he went back to the storage building. They're like, yeah, no, we don't have any record of that, but he paid it the whole time.
That's crazy. Just stealing everything they have, everything they worked for.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah. Well, dude, let's, if it's all right, man, let's go ahead and wrap it up. I've got to go next door and pay my penance for Corey's
That's right. Class. Yeah. For all that hard manual labor.
Yeah. Yeah. But, man, thanks for making the drive. Dude, I really appreciate it because I would have been down to do a Zoom, but it's great seeing people.
Yeah.
I love having podcasts in their studio versus
I like being here, man.
Sitting here with my little screen.
It's like I said, it's cool in here. I like it. It's awesome.
Well, I tell this to most guests, some I don't. But if you ever want to do another one, man, dude, if you got a fight coming up, or you think you might fight anymore?
I think about it. Yeah, I thought maybe August. I was thinking about it, but just it's kind of hard with school and training and trying to figure out if my kids are going to go back to school and just kind of.
Yeah, it is a fun.
I'm also thinking about going to Texas for a few weeks or a month to help with some of these high risk areas. So I'm kind of on the fence about what I'm going to do there. So I didn't want to commit to anything yet, but yeah, maybe. I'm for sure I will.
Do you teach or anything right now, like at Foster's ever?
No, not really, because I'm not consistent enough. I'm not there consistently enough
but
to
you
really.
Have a wealth of knowledge, though.
I've collected quite a bit of knowledge over the years from getting beat up by different people. So
yeah. Well, man, thanks so much for coming on.
I appreciate it, man. I can't wait to come back.
Right on, bro. Signing off.